refuse you. Riley was so angry, she couldn't even be bothered to analyze what Ethan Vance was saying. All she knew was that her sister and brother-in-law would never die that easily. Get out of my house. Don't let me see you again. Until this is investigated, I forbid you to curse my sister and my brother-in-law like that. Riley's temper flared, and she pointed a trembling finger at Ethan, her voice a furious roar. While Paige was also shocked by Ethan's news, she wasn't as hot-headed as Riley. A few sentences in, and she understood perfectly. Ethan Vance was rushing over to suck up to her boss while she was vulnerable. The sight of it was disgusting, taking advantage of a family in chaos to stir up trouble. In that moment, Paige's disgust for Ethan reached its peak. Seeing him still standing there, dazed, she didn't hold back. Mr. Vance, please leave. Don't add to the chaos here. Being rejected by Riley was one thing, but who the hell was Paige? Ethan, who had come over with the express purpose of comforting Riley, was instantly infuriated by Paige's dismissal. Hadn't he rushed over to be by Riley's side at a time like this, to offer her warmth and support? And this assistant of hers was getting in the way, even telling him to leave. What kind of logic was that? Ethan's face fell, turning into a thunderous mask. He glared at Paige and snapped, "I'm talking to Riley. What does this have to do with you?" Paige's face went pale. Her status was no match for Ethan's. But to let him take advantage of this crisis, he'd have to step over her dead body. Resolutely, Paige planted herself in front of Riley. Her defiance only enraged Riley further. She shot to her feet, the full force of her heiress persona radiating from her as she barked. "What are you all standing around for? Get him out of here." Ethan was stunned. From the villa's various rooms, a dozen men in black suits swarmed out, instantly surrounding him. Realizing they were Thorne family security, Ethan panicked. "Riley, what are you doing? I just came to bring you the news, that's all. I don't understand why you're always so hostile toward me. What did I do wrong? Did I ask you to curse my sister and brother-in-law?" Riley pulled Paige behind her, her eyes flashing toward the bodyguards. "Grab him and throw him out. I don't want to see this man's face again." When the usually playful Riley Thorne pulled the heiress card, the look in her eyes was startlingly similar to Cassandra's. The dozen bodyguards responded in unison, surging forward and seizing Ethan's arms in an instant. Riley turned to Paige, her voice softening. "Don't be afraid, Paige. As long as I'm here, the Thorne family won't be bullied so easily." She then gestured to the guards, her voice sharp. "What are you waiting for? Do I have to say it again?" Her imperious tone, combined with her resemblance to Cassandra, was surprisingly effective. The guards obeyed, lifting Ethan by his arms and legs. Ignoring his protests, they carried him straight out of the villa. With the obnoxious pest finally gone, Paige let out a long breath, looking at Riley with a mixture of gratitude and relief. "Miss Riley, you've really grown up." "What grown up? Before, my sister was here, so I didn't have to worry about anything. But now that she's gone, some people think they can come and mess with my family? In their dreams." Riley scoffed, biting her lip hard. "Paige, go tell the guards to be on high alert. Until my parents get back, nothing can go wrong in this villa." Paige nodded repeatedly, her eyes filled with admiration. Her voice softened. "Of course." Thrown out onto the street in front of the Stanton estate, Ethan scrambled to his feet, his face a mask of cold fury. "Who do you think you are?" he raged at the guards. "I'm with the royal family. You dare treat me like this? You're asking for it." But his threats had no effect. These were Thorne family men. Why would they fear him? A dozen pairs of eyes stared at him, their silent intensity making his skin crawl. His tantrum useless, Ethan swallowed his resentment. He shot a venomous glare at the villa, then yanked open his car door and threw himself inside. "Sir, what now?" the driver asked, turning around from the front seat. "Go back. What else can we do?" Ethan snapped, his eyes locking on the guards who still hadn't moved. His gaze turned frigid. "Has our guy checked in?" The driver shook his head. "No news yet. After the explosion, he was supposed to meet us at the entrance to Chinatown, but he never showed. No answer on his phone, no reply to texts." How is that possible? Ethan's brow furrowed. Something felt wrong. The man he'd sent was one of his mother's best snipers. The mission was complete, by all rights. He should have been back by now. Why was there still no word? "Sir, do you think something's wrong?" The driver clearly sensed it too, but he didn't dare say too much. Maybe he was detained by the police. They were fast. The whole area was locked down the minute the explosion happened. Chinatown in the UK had a police precinct nearby, precisely to prevent trouble. They could be on scene in minutes. It's not impossible. Ethan's voice trailed off. He checked the time on his phone. It had been 2 hours since the explosion. If they found anyone suspicious, they would certainly have been taken into custody. "All right, take me back first. Then you go to the precinct. Let my contact, Detective Zhang, know what's going on. Ethan gave the order. Yes, sir. The driver nodded and pressed the accelerator. I'm still not a fan of telling Scotland Yard about this, Cassandra said, frowning as she watched the last of the emergency crews packing up below. The Thorne family could have handled this. Liam raised an eyebrow. Isn't the whole point to make a scene? Only by going through the authorities will Lord Charles realize how serious this is. Cassandra gave Liam a long look, but didn't argue further. She took a deep breath and was immediately seized by a coughing fit. So, when can we get out of here? The air in here is terrible. Before she could finish, Liam pulled out a remote control from somewhere, slapping his forehead as if he'd just remembered. Ah, if you hadn't reminded me, I would have forgotten. I had the owner install an air purifier ahead of time. Cassandra was speechless. As Liam pressed the button on the remote, the air in the room noticeably improved. For safety, he had chosen a room separated from the blast site by a long corridor. Even with the explosion, they had only felt a slight tremor, minimizing the danger. Watching Liam lean back in his wheelchair with a look of smug contentment, Cassandra couldn't help but tease him. You seem pretty relaxed. Good thing they weren't bold enough to blow up the whole building. They wouldn't dare, Liam said with a grin. Their target was only me. If they cause a major incident in Chinatown, it wouldn't be a simple matter between the royal family and the Thornes anymore. Natalie probably still wants her son to be the heir. She's not about to pick a fight with an entire country. It was undeniable. Liam was right. Killing Liam was the ideal outcome for them. The collateral damage was just Cassandra. If both died, Natalie and Ethan could easily pin the blame on Jessica Fong and wash their hands of it. But if the entire restaurant in Chinatown was destroyed, it would escalate far beyond a feud between two powerful families. An international incident was the last thing anyone wanted, especially not Natalie, who was counting on Liam's death to secure her son's position as heir to the throne. Cassandra suddenly smiled. She moved from the window and sat on the sofa beside Liam, raising an eyebrow. So what happens after this is all settled? Ethan probably won't be the heir anymore. Lord Charles might just hand the whole thing over to you, you know? She was smiling, just making casual conversation. After everything they'd been through, whatever Liam chose to do, she wouldn't object. But inheriting the throne and Zenith Corp? He'd be swamped. Seeing him looking so carefree and pleased with himself, Cassandra felt a wicked desire to see him squirm. If that day ever came, he wouldn't be smiling. Who wants to inherit the throne? Liam said dismissively. He glanced sideways and saw Cassandra's mischievous expression, instantly understanding her game. He huffed, shameless. I'd rather stick with my amazing wife. When the baby's born, you can go out and conquer the world, and I'll stay home and raise the kid. How about that? Cassandra's eyes widened in disbelief. Are you serious? Of course I'm serious. Liam met her gaze and nodded gravely, his expression completely earnest. I've figured it out. What's the point of working so hard in life? It's much better to cling to my wife's leg and be a kept man. There was no trace of the wild, freedom-loving man he used to be. Knowing he had changed so much for her, Cassandra didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I kind of like your rebellious side. That's ancient history. Liam snorted, proudly invading territory Cassandra usually dominated. What? Don't tell me my dear wife is unwilling to support me. The repeated "my dear wife" made Cassandra's cheeks burn. Blushing, she pointed a finger at him. You manipulative jerk. Seeing that he'd gotten her flustered again, Liam was secretly ecstatic, but he put on a wounded expression. You're yelling at me, my love. You call me a jerk. You don't love me anymore. You. Cassandra was utterly tongue-tied, unable to form a coherent sentence. Her flustered state made him laugh. It was so easy to get a rise out of her. All he had to do was steal her lines. Cassandra turned her head away, her cheeks crimson as she fumed. Don't even think about it. And to think I stopped Dad from making you take over the company. After this, I'm telling him that from now on, you're in charge of supporting me and the baby. Liam, who had been looking forward to a few more days of leisure, looked instantly crestfallen. My dearest wife, don't do that. I was wrong. Don't you hate seeing your father goofing off all the time? Don't you want us to take the baby on a romantic honeymoon trip together? How could she not want that? If Liam's leg wasn't injured and she wasn't in a critical stage of her pregnancy, she would have already dragged him all over the world. But now, whoever softened their tone first would lose the upper hand. Cassandra crossed her arms, closed her eyes, and put on an air of haughty indifference. I don't want to. Who wants to go on a honeymoon with you? All right then. I guess I was getting ahead of myself. Liam sighed, feigning dejection. Cassandra tilted her head, peeking at him through a tiny slit in her eyelids. She saw his hurt expression and her heart immediately clenched. She cleared her throat, turned away again, and said, her tone still arrogant, "Humph. Don't think you can make me feel bad by putting on that face. That trick doesn't work on me anymore." "Oh, really?" Liam muttered under his breath. He placed his hands on the wheelchair's controls and maneuvered it a few inches closer to her. "Of course it's. Ha ha, stop tickling me. You're so annoying. Ha ha." 1 second Cassandra was playing tough, the next her waist was under attack. Her defenses crumbled. She squirmed on the sofa, trying to dodge Liam's assault. All right, so I'm annoying. Well, today I'm going to be extra annoying. Stop moving if you can." Liam couldn't stop laughing either, but his attack didn't relent. Cassandra was laughing so hard she was out of breath, beads of sweat forming on her forehead. She twisted and writhed, finally managing to grab both his arms, muttering between gasps, I hate you, you big baby." Liam was exasperated. "Who's the baby here? Always saying the opposite of what you mean, and so stubborn. Humph, you're the baby." "No, you are. You." Cassandra's face was burning, especially when her eyes met Liam's. He had reversed their grip, his large hands now holding her wrists. The heat radiating from his palms made her whole body feel feverish. She stammered, biting her lip, her eyes welling up with tears of laughter as she yelled, "You are the biggest baby." Seeing her with her hair in disarray, looking like a startled rabbit, Liam's heart softened. He decided to stop teasing her. His tone gentled. All right, I'm the baby." Having won, Cassandra snatched her hands back and put on a cold expression. "Umph, you were the one being childish, always teasing me." Okay, my fault. Liam threw his hands up in surrender. His eyes darted around, then fixed on Cassandra. He leaned in closer. "So, how about I give you a kiss to make up for it? And what if we can't stop and things get out of hand?" Seeing that Liam wasn't joking, Cassandra's face turned serious. But even as she said it, she couldn't help but cross her legs tightly. It had been too long. They had been apart for far too long. It had been ages since she'd been close to Liam, and she was about to burst. She didn't know what was wrong with her. She was pregnant, but the longing was unbearable. It was her first pregnancy, and Cassandra had no idea that hormonal changes could amplify these feelings. At a time like this, whether they acted on it or not was purely a matter of conscience. Seeing the fire in Cassandra's eyes, Liam was left speechless. No way. How could I not control myself? Besides, am I that kind of scumbag? Oomph. Cassandra snorted. She knew this wasn't the right time for that. She turned away, deliberately putting some distance between them, and changed the subject. "You should be thinking about how you're going to explain this to them later. I have a feeling we're going to get an earful." Liam was surprised. "Really? We're both adults. They wouldn't actually scold us, would they?" Cassandra pursed her lips. "Let's say our baby pulls a stunt like this, faking its own death, scaring you half to death, and then tells you it was all part of a plan. Would you punish it or not?" Liam fell silent. He'd have to ground that kid for life. Forget the baby. If Chloe suddenly pulled something like this, he'd be furious. While the plan was designed to make Lord Charles see the truth and get angry, there were other people who cared about them. Hurting the people who truly cared was the biggest mistake of all. Liam smacked his lips, thinking for a moment. "Okay, how about this? When we explain, you say the whole thing was my idea. You only found out about my plan after you got here, so you couldn't back out. That way they won't blame you." He was genuinely trying to find a solution. Cassandra's heart warmed, and she couldn't resist cupping his face in her hands. "No, we planned this together. I should take responsibility too. You really don't have to." "No, I, Cassandra Thorne, have never been one to hide behind others. It's settled. I'll face them with you." Meeting her brilliant, shining eyes, Liam felt like his whole life was worth it. With a wife who was willing to stand with him on the front lines, what was there to be afraid of? So they'd get yelled at together. Liam smiled. "Then I'll send a message to Mr. Thorne now. After all, we need him to pick up Jessica Fong and that sniper." Okay. When the news of 2 suspected char bodies on site was relayed, Lord Charles truly lost his temper. He became a master of desk clearing, sweeping every document in front of him onto the floor. "Investigate, find the mastermind, and tell the medical examiner to speed up the analysis of those bodies. I don't believe Liam is dead, just like that. What are you standing around for? Go," he roared, his voice so thunderous it left Princess Anna frozen in place. She had expected her father to be angry, but not this angry. However, the information her staff brought back made her uneasy. Anna's mind flashed back to all the things Natalie had said against Liam. And now this. No, it couldn't be her, could it? Anna's face went pale. She struggled to speak. "Father, please don't panic. It's only been 2 hours since the explosion. They're already investigating at top speed." "Only 2 hours?" Lord Charles murmured. He collapsed onto the sofa, his face ashen, as if all the strength had drained from his body. He leaned his head back, staring at the ceiling. The scene has been cleared, and it's true that no one saw Liam or Cassandra come out. But the Thorne family's car has been waiting downstairs the whole time. I'll call Caleb right now and ask him what's going on. Anna quickly pulled out her phone. Lord Charles forced himself to sit up, his eyes fixed on Anna as she dialed. The moment the call connected, Caleb Thorne's grim voice came through the line. Princess Anna, is something wrong? Caleb, we saw what happened in Chinatown. My father is very concerned about Liam and Cassandra. How? How are they? Anna paused, hesitating before asking. I don't know. We've already left the scene, Caleb said, his words a bombshell. Hearing this, Anna and Lord Charles immediately straightened up. Then Liam and Cassandra. I don't know. If you want to know more, you should call Scotland Yard. With that, Caleb hung up without a second thought. The reason was simple. Just moments before, he had received a text from Liam's phone telling him to go to a black car parked in an alley next to Chinatown and bring Jessica Fong back to the Stanton estate. Caleb had come alone. He put down his phone and stared at the black car in front of him. The person who jumped out was none other than Palmer, the man who was always by Cassandra's side. Palmer scratched the back of his head, walked over, and knocked on Caleb's window. As the window rolled down, Palmer grinned sheepishly. Heh, sir. You imbecile. Through the window, Caleb landed a solid slap across Palmer's face. Palmer yelped in pain, cupping his cheek with a wounded expression. Sir, this was the boss's plan. They wouldn't let me tell you. My hands were tied. If it weren't for the fact that Cassandra had promised him an extra bonus for this, he never would have dared to be the first one to face the music. As it was, a slap in exchange for a fat bonus seemed like a fair trade to Palmer. Caleb snorted, his gaze shifting to the black car behind Palmer. Where is she? In the car, in the car. Palmer let out a sigh of relief and quickly opened the back door of the black car. On the back seat, an unconscious Jessica Fong lay with her hands and feet bound and a black hood over her head. Caleb's expression was ice cold. He pointed a finger. Palmer understood immediately. He grabbed the woman, slung her over his shoulder, and unceremoniously dumped her into the back of Caleb's car. All right, sir, I'll drive. Palmer volunteered, rushing to open the driver's door and making a respectful gesture. Caleb got out of the driver's seat and moved to the passenger's side. His eyes narrowed as he watched the rearview mirror. On the drive over, Caleb had already pieced together Liam and Cassandra's plan. There's just one flaw. He fixed his gaze on Palmer. Drive to the abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. Get a few men to watch her. Your car can go pick up Cassandra and Liam. Huh. Palmer was stunned, scratching his head. But sir, the boss's orders were to take her to the Stanton estate. You idiot. Caleb snapped, his voice cold as he explained. If the plan has begun, do you think the Stanton estate won't be under surveillance? Even an unfamiliar car entering the perimeter will attract attention, let alone us leaving with only one car. The Stanton estate had bodyguards, but if someone was watching from the outside, they couldn't be sure. They were up against the royal family, not some minor clan. They had to be cautious. If they were going to put on a show, they had to do it right. Palmer, who was used to just following orders, instantly understood Caleb's meaning. Experience really did count. A small oversight like this could give a mastermind an escape route. After all, the reason his boss was taking such a huge risk was to eliminate the threat for good. Yes, of course. Palmer agreed readily. He took out his phone and sent a message to the driver of the other car. A moment later, the black car across the street drove away. Caleb's eyes darkened. He glanced at the unconscious Jessica Fong in the back seat, his voice frigid. Has she been searched? Searched her. When we found her in the attic, there was nothing but a sniper rifle, Palmer replied, pressing the accelerator. But Caleb's eyes narrowed. He stared at Jessica's clothing and asked again, Are you sure you searched everything? I'm sure. I went through all her pockets. Didn't see anything unusual, Palmer answered naturally. But Caleb's next words nearly made Palmer swerve into a ditch. Did you check her underclothes? Caleb's voice was grim, leaving no room for argument. What? Palmer's hand trembled. He slammed on the brakes, and the car lurched to a stop at the side of the road. He looked at Caleb in disbelief, stammering, Sir, I have to check. In there. In an instant, Caleb glared at Palmer with utter disappointment. Palmer, I put you by Cassandra's side, and it seems you've gotten soft over the years. Have all the things you learned gone to the dogs? A shiver ran down Palmer's spine. Meeting Caleb's icy gaze, he snapped to attention. No. I haven't forgotten. I'll check right now. He scrambled out of the car. Staring at the unconscious Jessica, Palmer gritted his teeth, closed his eyes, and tugged at her jacket. A few seconds later, Palmer was holding a folded piece of A4 paper, his head beaded with sweat. Sir, I found this. Caleb snatched it without a word. He unfolded the paper, scanned the contents, and the entire plan became crystal clear. Caleb let out a cold laugh, his contemptuous gaze falling on Jessica. His voice was laced with ice. Interesting. This Ethan Vance really thinks highly of my Thorne family. Sending such a useless pawn. Did he really think so little of them? Palmer swallowed hard and got back in the car, looking at Caleb expectantly. Sir, what does it say? Caleb's eyes glinted. He folded the paper back up and tucked it into his pocket. Nothing. Go tell Cassandra I have the evidence. The woman is at their disposal. Yes, sir. Palmer nodded repeatedly, quickly pulling out his phone to send another message to Cassandra. The moment the message notification popped up, Cassandra grabbed her phone. Dad found the evidence. Your father is amazing. Liam slapped his thigh like a spectator at a play, so excited he nearly stood up. Cassandra beamed. My dad might seem like a slacker most of the time, but he's all business when it matters. Her gaze drifted down the message, landing on the line. Jessica Fong is at their disposal. She raised an eyebrow. But, Liam, Dad says Jessica is ours to deal with. What are you planning to do with her? Send her to the Royals. What else? Liam said casually. We definitely can't show our faces tonight. We'll wait until tomorrow, when Lord Charles's anger has reached its peak. Then you and I will show up with your dad. None of them will escape. Seeing that Liam hadn't softened one bit, the stone in Cassandra's heart finally settled. It wasn't that she didn't trust him, but everyone has a filter when it comes to their long-lost love. Just look at Lord Charles. After all these years, he was still so hung up on his old flame that he was ecstatic to have their child back. She believed in Liam, but the worry was still there. Seeing him like this, she could finally relax. Cassandra put down her phone and stood up. Let's go. The crowd outside has mostly cleared out. Palmer has sent a car. We can leave through the back. All right. Liam agreed with a grin. Remind me to transfer some money to the owner of this place later. I'm afraid I'll forget. I already did. Did you really think he'd help us out of the goodness of his heart? Cassandra rolled her eyes and placed her hands on the wheelchair's handles. Liam scratched his head and said no more, letting Cassandra push him out. The media had already captured the incident. There was no need to hide anymore. Back at the Stanton estate, Caleb stormed straight into the bedroom. Catherine had just taken her medication and was still sleeping. Seeing Caleb's worried expression, Evelyn Reed hurried to reassure him. Sir, Madam was just frightened. She's not seriously hurt. She just needs to sleep for a while. Good. Only then did Caleb breathe a sigh of relief. Faced with a red-eyed Riley and the others who rushed in, Caleb sighed and stood up. Let's go to the study. I already know what's going on. Seeing that Caleb was not panicked but calm and composed, the group's tension and alarm subsided. In the study, as Caleb explained, the weight on everyone's shoulders finally lifted. Riley wiped the tears from her eyes, pouting. They're so mean. Why didn't they tell us about the plan? We could have helped. Yeah, they made us so worried. Liam can be such a... Chloe added. We can't really blame Liam. It was Ethan and his people who did this. It was terrifying, Leo said, getting to the point. Watching the group chatter and seethe with indignation, Caleb fell silent. Of course they couldn't tell them. With so many kids in the house, if he told them the whole plan, just the acting part alone would have been a disaster. If one of them had burst out laughing mid-performance, he would have had a heart attack. I've been in plays, you know. My sister should have told me about this plan earlier. I could have gotten my acting fix, Riley pouted, clearly complaining. It was bad enough that she had been so worried, but not including her in something so exciting was just plain mean. Chloe was taken aback. Riley, you've acted before? Of course. Riley nodded without hesitation, lifting her chin with a touch of pride. Paige signed me up for a TV series once. It was pretty famous, something about a princess. Was it the Onyx Princess? Chloe exclaimed. Yes, that's the one. When it aired, the ratings were huge. Riley said proudly. Leo scratched his head and chimed in. You know, I think I saw my mom watching that when I was home for the holidays. Riley, I had no idea you were in a TV show. Well, of course. Riley Thorne, might not be good at much, but I've got talent when it comes to performing. Bathed in the praise, Riley's pride grew. Chloe blinked, leaning forward with a curious, admiring expression. So, Riley, who did you play in the show? Without thinking, Riley blurted out, I forget. It was so long ago. Paige, you tell them. All eyes turned to Paige. Paige silently broke into a cold sweat. She bit her lip, and facing the group's curious gazes, she said helplessly, Miss Riley had a cameo role. She played the villainous heiress. Chloe fell silent. Oh, Leo tilted his head back, a look of understanding on his face. Oh, no wonder I couldn't remember. You were a throwaway character. Riley snorted, her expression haughty. What's wrong with being the villain? After that episode aired, the audience didn't even hate on me. When my girl group held a concert later, nobody even mentioned it. A villain who doesn't get hate is a badly played villain, everyone thought. True acting talent is when you play a villain so well that getting cursed out by the audience is a compliment. After a few more exchanges, Caleb didn't even need to say anything. Chloe and Leo instantly understood why Liam and Cassandra hadn't shared the plan with everyone. P16.She also breathed a sigh of relief, her tense nerves finally relaxing. She looked at Caleb. Mr. Thorne, what should we do now? Chloe snapped back to the present, her expression serious. Yeah, Uncle Caleb, what should we do now? Should we pretend to be crying? I'm good at that. I can cry. Dad, let me go first. Riley enthusiastically raised her arm. I think we should hold a small funeral for Liam and Cassandra, Leo suggested. Then quickly added, fearing backlash, not to jinx them or anything, just to let the enemy know. Carol nodded, understanding Leo's point. That's right. Holding a funeral now would be the most convincing thing to do. Then I'll be the star of the show. I'll stand in front of the coffin, we'll invite a media outlet, and we'll have some onions ready. The thought of acting again made Riley giddy with excitement. No one criticized Leo. Everyone agreed that a funeral was the right move to publicly declare the deaths of Liam and Cassandra. As the group began to animatedly discuss how to organize the funeral, Caleb's mouth twitched, his face a mask of exasperation. He thought for a moment, took a deep breath, and said, "We can't hold a funeral. I will send the Thorne security team to pressure Scotland Yard." Riley was stunned. Why, Dad? Isn't a funeral the most appropriate thing right now? Caleb sighed. If you didn't know about this plan, would you believe that Liam and Cassandra were really dead? Riley froze. A flicker of understanding lit up P16.She's eyes. She exchanged a look with Leo, and Chloe also had a delayed realization. I get it, Uncle Caleb, Chloe said. You mean not only should we not hold a funeral, but we should act frantic and desperate, like we're searching for them everywhere, right? Caleb smiled and nodded at Chloe's insight. She was Liam's sister, after all. Though her mind wasn't quite as sharp as Liam's, she understood with just a little guidance. Unlike his own younger daughter, Caleb looked at the still-confused Riley with a weary expression and sighed. He had no idea who she took after. He'd spelled it out, and she still hadn't gotten it. I know what to do, Uncle Caleb. Chloe shot to her feet, grabbing Leo's arm. Leo and I will go to the restaurant now. We'll go make a scene. Leo nodded, quickly adding, Uncle Caleb, could you arrange for a few bodyguard for us? Caleb nodded with a smile. Yes, you two go ahead. Leo, find Palmer. He'll arrange for men and weapons for your protection. Leo responded, Yes, sir. What should I do? Carol asked, standing up eagerly. Mom, you should just stay home. Don't go running around. Or they might try to cause trouble for you again, Chloe said, looking at her mother with concern before leaving. Carol was about to nod when Caleb's voice cut in. No, Caleb thought for a moment, his voice turning cold. P16.She, I actually have something I need you to do. Carol was surprised, then stood up straight, her expression serious. Mr. Thorne, just tell me. Caleb smiled. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to go to the royal family or interfere. I can't go over there. But your relationship with Lord Charles is perfect. You can go to the royal residence. You don't have to say much, just act panicked and ask him to send people to help you investigate. Carol understood instantly and nodded repeatedly. All right, don't worry. I know what to do. Chloe looked at her mother nervously. Mom, are you sure you can handle it? I'm just going to say a few words. Besides, I never heard about this plan, did I? Carol replied with a reassuring smile, stroking her daughter's head. You and Liam are all grown up. I'm your mother. How can I hold my own children back? Don't worry. Having supportive parents was the greatest joy. After so many years of independence, Chloe felt a sting in her nose at her mother's words. She blinked back tears and gave her mother a big hug. Seeing everyone with a clear role, Riley grew anxious. Something this interesting was happening, and she wasn't going to be part of it? No way. Riley jumped to her feet and grabbed Chloe's arm. Dad, I'll go with Chloe and Leo. I want to go act too. Nonsense. Caleb's voice was sharp, his face darkening. You'll stay right here at home. Don't go anywhere, and don't cause any trouble. Dad! Riley's temper flared. Seeing her father's different attitude towards her compared to everyone else, her nose tingled, and her eyes instantly reddened. You never let me go out. You're always so strict with me. I know what to do this time. I won't mess it up. Dad, you should see what I can do. Why are you always so mean to me? The harmonious planning session was instantly shattered by Riley's tearful accusation, plunging the room into an awkward silence. Chloe and the others knew Riley had a penchant for drama, so they usually kept things from her. This was a perfect plan, If she messed it up and alerted the enemy, it would all be for nothing. No one was willing to take that risk. Having never seen her handle a serious situation, no one dared to speak up for her. Faced with Riley's outburst, Caleb's heart softened. He felt a pang of guilt. Seeing the tears welling up in Riley's eyes, Paige swallowed hard and gathered her courage. Sir, actually Miss Riley has changed a lot. When you were all out earlier, Princess Natalie's son, Ethan Vance, came over. It was Miss Riley who drove him away. Paige recounted the earlier scene truthfully. Everyone was stunned. Caleb's eyes widened in surprise as he looked at Riley. Ethan Vance was here? Yes. Paige nodded, answering for Riley. Mr. Vance was being very nasty, and it seemed like he already knew something was going to happen to Mr. Lynn and Miss Thorne. He was being a complete pest, and it was Miss Riley who stood up and told him to get lost. Miss Riley's attitude was very firm. I was shocked too, Paige answered honestly. Caleb didn't even need to produce the contract he'd found on Jessica. Hearing this, everyone knew exactly who the mastermind was. And I thought that Ethan kid seemed so polite, Carol murmured in surprise. I can't believe they've been planning this all along. When she was at the royal residence, after speaking with Lord Charles, she had met Ethan Vance. He was about Liam's age, and though they were distantly related, they looked nothing alike. At the time, Ethan had been very polite, and her first impression of him was quite good. She never would have thought that someone who smiled to your face could have such a horrifying dark side. You really couldn't judge a book by its cover. Why are they doing this? My brother and I both said we don't want to go back to the royal family. I don't get it, Chloe said, her face flushed with anger. Chloe, you may have said that, but Ethan and his mother don't know it. Leo interjected. Besides, imagine if a new kid suddenly showed up in your family and wanted to split your inheritance. Would you be happy about it? He was pretty clear on this. If it were him, at his age, and his mother suddenly told him he had a half-brother who would be living off the money he gave her, he'd be furious. Even though the money he had now was from Liam, he still wouldn't be willing to share. Chloe blinked, picturing Liam's face. She scratched her head. It's not a big deal. I think it'll be fine. If my brother wanted to spend my money, I wouldn't mind. Leo's mouth twitched. He looked at Chloe, exasperated. Of course she wouldn't mind. She'd known she had a brother her whole life. More importantly, the Xiao family had grown up with nothing, so there was nothing to lose. Now that Liam was back and doted on her, of course she was happy. Leo didn't explain further, but everyone understood. Looking at the still aggrieved Riley, Caleb sighed. An idea flashed in his mind, and he smiled at her. Riley, Dad has a good job for you, but you might have to put up with some discomfort. I don't know if you're willing. I'm willing. Of course I'm willing. Dad, just say it. As long as I can show what I can do, I'll work hard. Riley quickly wiped away her tears and pumped her little fist, full of enthusiasm. All right, you and Paige will go find Ethan Vance. See if you can get any evidence out of him, Caleb said cheerfully. He already had the evidence, of course, but Riley was so eager, he had to give her something to do. It was the participation that mattered. Oh, hearing that she would have to see the person she despised most and pretend to be a victim, Riley's face fell. Paige, however, encouraged her. Miss Riley, I think your father's idea is a good one. You should go. Just think of it as acting. You were great before. Just think of it as acting. Riley pursed her lips, her confidence surging. She pumped her fist again and declared, right. It's just acting. Dad, don't worry. I guarantee I'll complete the mission. Seeing the determination on Riley's tear-streaked face, Caleb finally breathed a sigh of relief. With their tasks assigned, everyone got busy. As they all filed out, Caleb glanced at the dark sky outside. This was going to be a long night. He glanced at the contract, folded it, and placed it in the study safe. After making sure it was secure, he stood up and headed for the bedroom. Everyone else was busy, but he had his own task to attend to, comforting his wife when she woke up. He entered the bedroom and saw Catherine, who had been given a sedative and was sleeping peacefully. Caleb sat silently by the bed, sighing, his heart filled with exasperation. Those two kids were really something, making him clean up their mess. After this was all over, he was going to show both of them the true meaning of a father's love. Paige, do you think it'll be too obvious if I just call him? The moment they got in the car outside the villa, Riley was already clutching her phone and looking at Paige. Paige settled into the driver's seat. Hearing the question, her mouth twitched. Recalling Ethan's expression earlier, she said, Miss Riley, I think you shouldn't overthink it. Just treat him like a normal person. A normal person? Riley froze, pouting. It wasn't that she couldn't do it, but she had been cooped up at home for days with no time to go out. The last time she'd done something like this was for her brother-in-law. When it came to other guys, she was out of practice. Let me think. Riley bowed her head in thought, her fingers flying across her phone screen. After searching for a while, she was clearly getting frustrated. Seeing Riley's lack of confidence, Paige pressed the accelerator and said, "Miss Riley, don't be too nervous. I don't think that Ethan Vance is all that smart. If he were smart, he wouldn't have confronted Riley like that in the first place." Paige continued, "Besides, if you really don't think you can do it, we can just stay home and wait for everyone to come back. Your father might just be testing you." She voiced her suspicion. To be honest, Paige didn't want Riley to take this risk either. She was driving, but didn't hear a response. She glanced in the rearview mirror and saw Riley holding her phone, frantically swiping at the screen. The next second, Riley's impatient voice rang out. "Paige." Paige jumped. "Yes. Where do I find my blocked list? Damn it. I blocked Ethan before, and now I can't find his number." Paige was speechless. So all that advice, she just gave one in one ear and out the other. She fell silent for a moment, then sighed. In your contacts, there's a More option in the top right corner. You can see your blocked contacts in there. Did you find it? "Oh, here it is," Riley exclaimed. Staring at the name Ethan Vance on her screen, she smacked her lips and tapped a finger against them. "Show Paige, don't talk. I'm about to call." Paige nodded quickly. The phone started ringing. Riley put it on speaker. After a few rings, the call was answered. On the other end, Ethan's delighted voice rang out. "Riley, you're finally calling me. I knew you'd come looking for me." Hearing this, Riley, who knew Ethan was the mastermind, made a gagging motion. She glanced at Paige, and the next second, a loud wah erupted as she burst into tears. The sudden outburst startled even Paige. What's wrong? Riley, why are you crying? Where are you? Who bullied you?" On the other end of the line, hearing Riley's sobs, Ethan grew frantic, his words tumbling out in a rush. Riley choked out between sobs, sniffle. "Ethan, I got into a fight with my dad. He said I cursed my sister and that I can't come home until she's back." From the driver's seat, Paige watched Riley's sudden transformation in the rearview mirror, completely dumbfounded. Say what you will, Riley's acting skills were top-notch. If this wasn't all part of the plan, she would have actually believed she was crying. Hearing this, Ethan grew even more agitated. "How could he do that? It's not your fault Miss Thorne got into trouble. They were the ones who went out to eat and walked right into it. How could your father say something like that?" Without a moment's hesitation, Ethan took the bait. Riley continued to sob, her pitiful voice making Ethan's heart clench. He took a deep breath, his tone softening. "Riley, were you and your sister not close at home?" Riley sniffled, her voice full of grievance. "My parents always favor my sister. In other families, they spoil the youngest, but not in mine. Because my sister is smart and capable, my parents have always given her the best. They used to bully me all the time, and now that something's happened to my sister, they say I did it on purpose." Listening to this long, masterfully improvised sob story, Paige pulled the car over to the side of the road. She couldn't help but turn around and give Riley a thumbs up, mouthing the word, "Genius." Riley winked and put a finger to her lips. On the other end, Ethan had no idea the Thorne family dynamics were so strained. So, it was all just a glamorous facade, with so much chaos underneath. No wonder he'd felt something was off before. Liam was Riley's brother-in-law, a fact that was all but official, yet Riley was still so close to him. All those years of being mistreated, Riley probably just wanted what her sister had. Ethan had no doubts. He had investigated Riley's background before, and learned that she had been in the entertainment industry under the stage name Sienna Shaw. If not for his royal connections, he never would have uncovered her link to the Thornes. The Thorne family had essentially exiled their youngest daughter for years. One could only imagine their relationship. And now, the insult from her own family must have been the last straw. Thinking this, Ethan was filled with pity. The girl he had admired for so long had suffered so much. Just hearing about it was painful. He couldn't imagine what it was like for Riley to have lived through it. Ethan's voice softened instantly. "Riley, don't cry. Tell me where you are, and I'll come pick you up. Since they don't want you, I do. I'll come get you right now. You can come live with me." His voice was firm. For any other girl, those words would have been incredibly comforting. But for Riley, who knew Ethan was the cause of all this, it was utterly repulsive. How could someone be so shameless? Who did he think he was, casually inviting a girl to his home? His nerve was disgusting. Suppressing her nausea, Riley didn't drop the ball. The show had to go on. She took a deep breath, forced down the wave of disgust, and said, "Is that okay? If I just go to your house, won't your family say something?" "They won't. Don't worry. My mother has known for a long time that I like you. She really wants you to come over. And I'm living at the royal residence now. My grandfather and the others are here too. You don't have to worry about a thing." Exchanging a glance with Paige, Riley let out another sob and said weakly, "Okay, Paige and I will head over there now. You don't have to come get us. We have a car." With that, she hung up the phone. Hearing the dial tone, Ethan couldn't help but smile. His mind was completely consumed with the thought of comforting a heartbroken girl. He had no capacity for his usual critical thinking. The image of a wronged Riley appearing before him, running into his arms in tears, sent a thrill through him. "Sir, are we still looking for your man and Jessica Fong?" the driver asked, seeing his boss staring out the window with a dreamy, blissful smile after hanging up. Ethan snapped out of his reverie and waved a dismissive hand. "No need. Let them be. No need." The driver's eyes widened in shock. "But sir, your man can find his way back. But what if Jessica Fong runs off? Where could she run? Don't forget, the deal we made can only be fulfilled if she comes to me in person," Ethan said with a cold snort, his mind sharp again. The driver nodded repeatedly. "Yes, you're right, sir. Just drive. Stop with the chatter," Ethan commanded sharply. The driver didn't dare say another word and sped towards the royal residence. As the car moved, the scenery flying past the window, Ethan was already lost in the fantasy of winning the girl, completely oblivious to everything else. The moment the call ended, Riley leaned against the car window and dry-heaved several times in the back seat. "That was so disgusting, Paige. Just hearing his voice makes me physically ill. I don't think I can keep this up," Riley complained between gags. Normal dislike was one thing, but a visceral, physiological aversion was not something you could easily overcome. Even hearing the name Ethan Vance made her want to puke now. Paige gave her 2 thumbs up, smiling. "Miss Riley, you were amazing just now. I thought you were going to flirt with him or something, but you found such a great angle." "Well, I had to make it believable. I just kicked the guy out, you know? If I suddenly said I missed." "Ugh, I can't even say it," Riley explained, then immediately shook her head in disgust. Watching her, Paige truly felt that her young miss was growing up. She had been assigned to Riley a long time ago and knew from the start that she had a lively, often unpredictable personality. But with the Thorne family behind her, Riley never had to worry. No matter how big a mistake she made, the family would clean it up. But now, her growth was plain to see. The second miss has really matured, Paige thought to herself with a sigh. She pressed the accelerator and, as instructed, headed for the royal residence. At almost the exact same moment, both parties arrived at the gate. A line of bodyguards stood before the main entrance. Seeing a car stop, a dozen of them moved forward simultaneously. When they saw Ethan get out, they all bowed. Ethan walked straight to the other car. He eagerly pulled open the door and saw Riley sitting in the back, her eyes brimming with tears. The air that drifted out of the car had a faint, lingering smell of onion. Ethan frowned and asked instinctively, "Riley, have you had dinner?" Riley was momentarily stunned, almost fumbling for a response. Fortunately, Paige reacted quickly from the side, explaining, "That was me. I ate something in the car to tide me over before Miss Riley got in." Ethan narrowed his eyes and looked at Paige with disdain. "Riley, your choice of staff is not very good. As a servant, how can she eat in her master's car?" Used to being a master, Ethan naturally assumed servants were there to serve. His words made Paige visibly uncomfortable. Even Riley, with tears still on her cheeks, secretly clenched her fists. She silently chanted a mantra to herself. "The mission isn't complete. There's still a long way to go." "Paige has been with me since we were little," she said, her voice soft and sweet, a single sentence clarifying her relationship with Paige. Seeing Riley stick up for her assistant, Ethan, whose focus wasn't on Paige anyway, quickly moved on. "Well, let's get out of the car. I'll take you to my room. I've already told my mother you're coming. She's prepared tea and cakes upstairs." "Okay," Riley nodded obediently and got out of the car with Ethan. The royal residence was massive. Besides the main villa, the estate had other buildings. Natalie and Ethan lived here, but their primary residence was in a private villa behind the main hall. As they stepped through the estate gates, Riley noticed another car pull up behind them. A single glance told her it was the vehicle carrying Carol Sia. When Ethan wasn't looking, Riley secretly tugged on Paige's sleeve. Paige raised an eyebrow and gave a slight nod. "Palmer, how hard did you hit him? It's been this long, and she's still not awake?" In the abandoned warehouse, on the only clean leather sofa that had just been moved in, Liam held Cassandra's waist and stared at the trussed-up, unconscious Jessica Fong. Palmer scratched his head, looking embarrassed. "It wasn't me. How about Miss, sir? I go get a bucket of cold water." "Fine," Cassandra murmured, leaning against Liam's shoulder without even lifting her head, her voice cold. Palmer scurried off, inhaling the musty air of the warehouse. Liam covered his nose and coughed a few times, complaining. Cassandra, Did we really have to come here? We could have just gone to a hotel. Cassandra lifted her eyelids slightly, her gaze flickering between the unconscious Jessica and Liam beside her. It's more fun this way. Liam's mouth twitched in exasperation. The next second, Cassandra yanked on his collar, and he turned to look at her. She was staring at him thoughtfully, then suddenly asked, "What? You seem pretty concerned about her." Feeling sorry for her, she raised an eyebrow, a dangerous glint in her eyes. "What are you talking about?" Liam said, completely exasperated. He let out a soft TSK and tilted Cassandra's chin up. "I'm telling you, Cassandra, you're never going to let this jealousy thing go, are you?" "Oomph. What? Am I not allowed?" Without a hint of evasion, Cassandra raised her chin proudly, her gaze colliding with Liam's. She deliberately hooked a finger in his collar, leaning closer and closer, as if to make a point. "I don't have any ex-boyfriends, but you have an ex-girlfriend. So what if I'm jealous? Am I not allowed?" she muttered, her eyes sparkling. The sight made Liam's heart tremble. What a little pest. She laid it all out there. What could he say? The warm breath that came with her words, mixed with the faint scent of roses, wrapped around his heart. It was pure, exquisite torture. "You little demon," Liam cursed, grabbing her mischievous wrist, his voice growing urgent. "I really don't want to lose control in here." Cassandra glanced down, a flash of understanding in her eyes. She bit her lip, but a smile was already spreading across her face. She let out a coquettish oomph and released his collar. Seeing Palmer rush over with a large bucket of water, Cassandra's expression hardened. "You're too slow. Extra training when we get back." Palmer shuddered, hastily wiping sweat from his brow. He looked at the two big bosses sitting on the sofa and didn't dare utter a single complaint, just nodded vigorously. "Yes, ma'am." He carried the bucket over to Jessica, lifted it, steadied it with his other hand, and without hesitation, poured the entire contents over her. Splash! The sharp sound of splashing water mingled with Jessica's pained groan. She coughed several times, her scant clothing now soaked through, clinging uncomfortably to her body. Cough, cough. Choking on the water, Jessica struggled to breathe. Through a blurry haze, she saw a golden sofa placed directly in front of her, a stark contrast to the dilapidated surroundings. "Is this my great-grandmother here to take me to the afterlife?" Jessica's mind went blank for a moment. She rubbed her eyes hard and finally realized that one of the two people sitting on the sofa was Liam. He was alive? How was that possible? Jessica's eyes widened. She saw the woman sitting next to him, the same one from the back of the car that day, whose name she didn't know. Jessica's brow tightened. She instinctively tried to shrink back, but found herself tied up. Panic seized her. Her mind racing, Jessica blurted out, Liam, what are you doing?" Well, you're a quick one," Liam said with a smirk, his face full of amusement as he looked at the pathetic Jessica. Jessica swallowed hard, her eyes locked on Liam as she tried to piece together what had happened. Her shot. She was sure it had hit. And afterwards, hadn't there been an explosion in Liam's room? Liam and the woman next to him should have been blown to bits. How could they be here? There was only one explanation. Liam had done it on purpose. He had deliberately made her think he was dead. This was all a trap set by him. Once she understood, Jessica knew there was no escape for her today. She gathered her courage and stared at Liam. "You knew what I was going to do all along, didn't you?" "Liam, Ethan Vance told you everything, didn't he?" She watched them intently, searching for her only way out. At this point, maybe if she softened her stance, proactively told him who her backer was, and maybe even flirted a little. After all, they had dated. At the very least, they were classmates. Even for the sake of that old connection, she might have a chance to live. But at her words, Liam burst out laughing. He turned to Cassandra, amused. "Cassandra, I thought we'd have to do some interrogating, but it looks like she's confessing on her own." Cassandra, however, frowned, looking at Liam with a hint of disgust. "How did you even fall for someone this stupid?" Don't say it. Liam looked embarrassed, scratching his head. "Come on, everyone makes mistakes." Hearing their conversation, Jessica's heart leaped. They really were after the mastermind. Jessica quickly softened her tone. "Liam, it's been so long since we broke up. I've had time to think, and I know we're in different worlds now. I don't expect you to take me back. The only reason I came to the UK was because I didn't want to work in a factory. I'm living for myself now. This whole plan was Ethan's idea. I was forced into it. For the sake of what we used to have, please let me go." She had it all planned out. Even if Liam didn't believe her, she still had the contract she signed with Ethan. If she could just get that out, Liam would have to believe her. She was just a helpless girl. With all their history, Liam wouldn't be so cruel as to kill her. But she had thought wrong. Before Liam could answer, Cassandra let out a cold laugh. "How touching. For the sake of what you used to have." The sarcasm dripped from her words, landing in Liam's ears. He grimaced, his toes curling in his shoes with embarrassment. Realizing she had misspoken, Jessica quickly corrected herself. Miss, please don't misunderstand. I meant our past as classmates. Look, you let me go, give me some money for a plane ticket back home, and I'll testify in court for you. I'll identify Ethan Vance. Uffed. Liam burst out laughing, so hard that tears squeezed from his eyes. He looked at Jessica's earnest expression, wiped a tear from his eye, and asked, Jessica, and how exactly are you going to testify? I have the contract with Ethan on me. Let me go, and I'll get it for you, she said, squirming anxiously to indicate her clothing. A contract? Liam raised an eyebrow. He was about to signal for Palmer to get it, but Palmer turned around, looking awkward. Sir, I already gave that contract to your father-in-law. You bastard. How could you go through someone's things? You have no shame. Jessica shrieked, writhing on the floor and screaming at Palmer. Looks like your ex-girlfriend still doesn't grasp the situation, Cassandra said, too lazy to elaborate. She yawned and leaned lazily against Liam. The scene was like something out of a TV show, the villainous couple tormenting the righteous heroine, who would then be reborn to seek revenge. Except, unfortunately for Jessica, there were no second chances in this world. And as for who was the villain and who was the hero, who could ever truly tell which one they were? Hearing Cassandra's cold voice, Jessica shuddered, but she gathered her courage. Since the evidence isn't on me, what right do you have to keep me here? I'll sue you. That's hilarious. I've seen people try to twist things, but this is the first time I've seen the villain play the victim. Liam wrapped an arm around Cassandra's shoulders, idly twisting a strand of her long hair around his finger, not even bothering to glance at Jessica. Kind of a dim bulb, but amusing, Cassandra remarked with a squint, offering a surprisingly fair assessment. At that moment, Jessica felt like a piece of pork hanging in a market, open for anyone to inspect, her dignity trampled into the dirt. What was worse, she had no way to fight back. Liam knew people in the royal family. By provoking them, she had sealed her fate. Catching a glimpse of Jessica, staring off into space, Liam smiled. Jessica, should I help you count all the things you've done? Illegal entry, attempted murder with a firearm. Which one of those charges do you think you can escape? But you're not dead. I didn't actually kill you. At most, it's armed intimidation. Jessica snapped back instinctively. Oh, Liam nodded lightly, smiling. I hope you're this tough in court. A real trial? Jessica, who had been pampered her whole life, had never experienced anything like this. The word sent a jolt of panic through her. Liam, it was just a joke. Let me go, please. We were classmates, after all. You can't be this cruel. I was just playing a joke on you. I'll never do it again. She sobbed, crawling forward on the floor. But, with her body bound and Palmer and the other guard standing nearby, she only managed to move a few inches despite all her effort. The pathetic sight gave Liam a strange sense of déjà vu. It wasn't pity, not by a long shot. It was like when Sylvia had dealt with Penelope. These were people he had known, and seeing them brought to this point, he couldn't help but feel a certain sense of finality. Seeing Liam staring blankly, Cassandra pinched his arm, annoyed. Ouch! Liam sucked in a sharp breath. He turned to meet Cassandra's gaze and saw the fire burning in her eyes. He raised an eyebrow. What's wrong? Cassandra was extremely displeased. What are you spacing out for? Feeling sorry for her, Liam shook his head silently. He glanced at Jessica, knowing this was the last time he would ever see her. His voice was heavy. Just feeling. Reflective, that's all. Reflective about what? There's nothing to be reflective about. You definitely feel sorry for her. Cassandra's anger flared, and she gripped his arm tighter, her face a mask of jealousy. Liam sighed, his tone deep and meaningful. Cassandra, if you knew someone who was about to die, you'd feel something too. The feeling was complex, a mix of pity, regret, and sorrow. It was about the people and events one encounters in life. Any normal person would feel it, regardless of the person's identity. But Cassandra was not normal. She stubbornly clung to Liam's sleeve, her fingers squeezing tight, her face full of discontent. What's there to be reflective about? I've dealt with more than just one of these. Liam smacked his lips. She was right. She wasn't important. Why get sentimental? Their conversation reached Jessica's ears, and she looked up in disbelief at the two devils before her. She thought she would at least face a trial. That's what she was afraid of. But they were already deciding her fate. The fear of death surged through her, a paralyzing terror spreading from her heart to her limbs. She struggled, shouting, You can't just take the law into your own hands. What you're doing is wrong. You. But Liam knew the royal family. Crushing her would be as easy as squashing an ant. Her cover was blown. What good would begging do now? This is boring. I'm tired, Cassandra yawned, resting her head on Liam's shoulder. Liam understood. It was time to wrap this up. He glanced at Palmer. Palmer got the hint, stepped forward to take Liam's wheelchair, and helped him into it. Just as Palmer was about to push him out, Jessica's weak voice called out again. Wait, Liam, before I die, can you at least tell me why you let me think my plan succeeded? She knew she couldn't escape today. At this moment, she just wanted to exchange a few more words with him. If she could get a phone, she wanted to call her family. Or maybe Ethan could save her. That Liam and Cassandra exchanged a look. His voice was cold. Sorry, but I never considered you an enemy. My only target was the person behind you. An enemy? Jessica wasn't even on his level. He was just surprised Ethan would send someone like her. How little did he think of him? Jessica's face went pale. In the face of death, verbal insults had lost their sting. Then, can you please give me a phone? I'm begging you. Just let me make one call. Just one. Jessica groveled on the floor, her eyes pleading. Seeing Cassandra give a slight nod, Liam looked at Palmer. Palmer immediately understood and handed Jessica her phone. As she struggled to unlock the screen with her tongue, Cassandra raised an eyebrow. It's Ethan Vance's number, Palmer reported, glancing down. Jessica's heart pounded. She lifted her eyes nervously, biting down on her phone, terrified they would snatch it away. But the next second, Liam laughed. No, seriously, you're calling Ethan at a time like this? Do you really think he's going to save you? Beep, beep, beep. The sound of a disconnected call echoed through the warehouse. It wasn't just a call that was cut off. It was Jessica's lifeline. Take it back. She said one call. Cassandra ordered Palmer, her voice crisp and cold. Palmer nodded quickly and snatched the phone away. Jessica clenched her jaw so hard as the phone was taken that she nearly chipped a tooth. You can't kill me. I'm a living person. What you're doing is illegal. The pain in her teeth felt like she'd been shot. Jessica began to struggle wildly, like a fish on a chopping block. Liam shook his head gently. As Palmer turned his wheelchair around, his flat voice echoed behind him. Relax, Jessica. No one here wants to get their hands dirty. The only thing waiting for you is the court's justice. Pull yourself together. You should get ready for the road ahead. Once they were back in the car and pulling away from the warehouse, Cassandra started in with her signature sarcasm. You're certainly trusting, handing her your phone like that. Weren't you worried Ethan Vance would actually answer and tip our whole hand? Liam raised an eyebrow. Frankly, I didn't think Ethan was stupid enough to go this far. I'm more surprised he didn't answer at all. He looked at Palmer in the driver's seat. Palmer, what was in that contract? Palmer buckled his seatbelt, answering honestly. I'm not entirely sure, sir, but judging by Mr. Thorne's expression, it was nothing good. Probably a demand for assets in exchange for his silence, Cassandra said casually. But Liam frowned at that, thinking for a moment. If that were the case, Ethan should have answered the phone. Even if he wanted to shut her up, he needed to find Jessica first. Realizing he was right, Cassandra's playful demeanor vanished. She tapped her chin, her mind racing. You're right. Him not answering is strange. She suddenly whipped her head toward Palmer, her voice sharp. Palmer, what exactly did my father say to you? Tell me every word. Palmer flinched. Ma'am, Mr. Thor didn't say much. Just that I was to pick you both up, and then he was heading home. Why don't we just call and ask? Liam patted Palmer's shoulder, signaling for his phone. Palmer dutifully handed it over. The call connected almost instantly, and Caleb Thorne's cold voice came through. Palmer, have you gotten Ms. Thorne and Mr. Lynn to the hotel? At the sound of his father-in-law's voice, Liam cleared his throat awkwardly and offered a meek, Mr. Thorne. There was a moment of stunned silence on the other end. Then Caleb's voice dripped with acid. Well, if it isn't Liam, to what do I owe the honor of a phone call from you? Air. Liam was so embarrassed he could have crawled under the seat. He knew he was in for it, but he had to take his medicine. Before he could stammer out an apology, Cassandra snapped, Dad, this was my idea. I told him to keep it from you because I was afraid you'd leak the plan. A warmth spread through Liam's chest at her defense of him. But when he turned to look at her, she had an expression that said, Of course I did. He fell silent. Keeping it from them was one thing, but not even giving them a heads up? Caleb Thorne was not having it. He could hear his father-in-law's face turning red through the phone. Cassandra, you've really grown wings, haven't you? What would have been so wrong with telling us? I'm your father. You've upset your mother so much she's still lying in bed. Are you satisfied? The gloves were off. Seeing his wife and father-in-law about to go to war over the phone, Liam was about to jump in and mediate. But Cassandra just snorted. So what? What if you'd said one wrong thing and tipped them off? How would we have ripped them out by the roots then? You. Caleb was speechless, his voice choked with fury. You really are my darling daughter, aren't you? Daring to speak to your own father like that. Just wonderful. Liam was tempted to just hang up to stop the fight. His father-in-law on one side, his precious wife on the other. Taking either side was a death sentence for his future peace. He quickly hit the speakerphone button and shook his head at Cassandra. Honey, please don't. But Cassandra was on a roll and didn't care about Liam's survival. She pointed a finger right at the phone. Put on speaker. Please, Cassandra, your mom is resting. Let's just... Are you going to do it or not? If you don't, I'll hit you, she threatened, her tone absolute. Glancing at her rounded belly, Liam sighed and reluctantly switched it off speaker, holding the phone to her. She spoke directly into it. Dad, don't you get all sarcastic with me. When Chloe was kidnapped and Liam went to save her, you two kept it from me. So what gives? The tables have turned, and now that we've kept something from you, you can't handle it? Liam's eyelid twitched. Holy hell. After all this time, Cassandra was still holding a grudge over that. That was a long time to harbor resentment. He wasn't the only one stunned. Caleb was silent for a long moment. He couldn't believe his daughter was this vindictive. Glancing at the still unconscious form of his wife, Catherine, in their room, Caleb sighed, the fight draining out of him. All right, fine. Just pretend I never said it. I was wrong back then, I admit it. I won't say another word. Liam raised his eyebrows, looking at Cassandra in astonishment. That's it? It's over? He thought for sure he'd be getting an earful when he got home, but with a few sentences, Cassandra had shut it down. However, Caleb's voice came again. Your mother didn't know about that time. This has nothing to do with her. You scared her so badly she fainted. When you get back, you're going to apologize to her, no matter what. Knowing he'd been reckless, Liam glanced at Cassandra and quickly agreed. Of course, Mr. Thorne. When she wakes up, please explain everything to her and tell her not to worry. Cassandra and I will apologize in person as soon as we get back. That seemed to placate him. Caleb's tone softened. He grunted his approval and finally got back to business. So, Liam, tell me, why did you call? The man who had built the Thorne Empire into what it was today was no fool. He'd known from the moment he heard Liam's voice. Liam conceded defeat. Mr. Thorne, I wanted to ask about the contract between Ethan Vance and Jessica Fawn. Also, when Jessica just called Ethan, we were planning to record it, but he didn't even answer the phone. What's going on? Caleb, who had anticipated this, let out a chuckle. An image of his other daughter, Riley, acting cute and coy with Ethan Vance flashed through his mind. He didn't answer? Of course he didn't. He's probably too busy lost in a woman's charms to be bothered with a phone call. Huh. Liam was stunned. He looked at Cassandra, who was equally surprised. A woman's charms? Mr. Thorne, did you plant someone near Ethan? Ethan Vance had seen his share of the world. Some ordinary girl wasn't going to turn his head so easily. And time was short. A familiar name popped into Liam's head, and his eye twitched. He didn't even have to say it. Caleb's voice came through the phone, confirming his suspicion. It's Riley. Riley Thorne. Cassandra exclaimed. If she weren't in a car, she would have jumped to her feet. She leaned forward, her expression serious. Dad, what are you playing at? How did Riley end up with Ethan Vance? Even though she and her sister bickered constantly, when it came to real trouble, Cassandra was fiercely protective. Liam felt the same. Caleb, however, sounded far from concerned. Relax, Cassandra. Riley volunteered. It was to coordinate with your plan. I've already deployed everyone. Chloe and Leo are at the restaurant, ready to make a scene. Carol Xia went to the royal residence to confront Lord Charles. And you both know how Riley is. He didn't need to say more. Both Liam and Cassandra understood perfectly. Riley Thorne lived for drama. With everyone else assigned a role, there was no way she'd be content sitting at home doing nothing. Is someone with her? Liam asked. Going after Ethan Vance was dangerous. Her safety was paramount, especially at the royal residence, which wasn't their territory. Paige is with her, Caleb confirmed. Good. Liam breathed a sigh of relief. Then I guess Cassandra and I can lay low for a few days. Caleb agreed. I've already made arrangements at the hotel. You can head straight there. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Thorne. After saying his thanks, Liam hung up and handed the phone back to Palmer. Let's go. Palmer nodded and hit the gas. Beside him, Cassandra crossed her arms and leaned back against the seat, a small smile playing on her lips. She's nothing but trouble. After this is over, I think we should send her back to the States. Liam knew instantly she was talking about Riley. Her personality was a bit much, but he remembered how, when Penelope Hamilton was still alive and playing her games, Riley had stood by his side without hesitation, defending him against Ethan's accusations. For once, Liam disagreed with her. Let her stir things up. This is a done deal now. Riley needs to experience more of the world to grow up. You're quite the optimist, Cassandra shot back, giving him a disgruntled look. It's not about optimism. I only figured out what I truly wanted after going through so much myself. People had to experience things to know what they truly wanted. It was like buying bubble tea. If you didn't try all the flavors, how would you know which one was your favorite? Liam just chuckled. He thought it would be good to witness Riley's growth. Cassandra didn't argue with that because it was true. If she hadn't gone through everything she had, she never would have imagined changing for a man. Life was a process of trial and error. Only by making mistakes could you find the right answers. But even though she didn't argue, she tilted her head up haughtily, her tone dripping with sarcasm. You seem to know my sister so well. Even better than you know me. They had known each other for such a short time, not even half as long as she and Liam had, and here he was defending her at every turn. It was infuriating. Her face visibly darkened. Liam's mouth twitched. He turned to her, his expression pained. Are you serious, my lady? She's your own sister. You're jealous of her, too. So what if I am? Cassandra shot back, full of righteous indignation. She glared at him, her cheeks flushing red with a mix of anger and embarrassment. You can only be mine. I'm jealous of everyone. As she spoke, she suddenly raised a hand and pointed, selecting a lucky victim in the car, Palmer. Her finger was aimed squarely at the driver's seat. Him too. If he so much as touches you, I'll be jealous. I'll be jealous of him too. Liam. The bizarre silence in the back seat plunged the car's atmosphere to absolute zero. A chill ran down Palmer's spine. He glanced in the rearview mirror, his focus momentarily slipping from the road. He saw his boss's wife pointing directly at his back. In the next second, Palmer's hand slipped on the wheel. The car swerved violently, nearly hitting the curb. Ah! Cassandra cried out, instinctively grabbing Liam's arm. Liam reacted just as quickly, shielding her head and stomach. The car settled after a single jolt. Before Liam could get angry, Cassandra's sharp voice cut through the air. How are you driving? You're fine. Palmer broke into a cold sweat. Ma'am, I'm innocent, he cried out. My hand just slipped. I swear it wasn't on purpose. Liam's mouth twitched. For a moment, he actually felt sorry for Palmer. Forget Palmer. Even he had been so shocked by Cassandra's declaration, he'd almost forgotten how to breathe. Okay, I won't talk about anyone else ever again, all right? Just calm down, Liam sighed, stroking her hair as if soothing a lioness. That's more like it. Hearing Liam's gentle voice, Cassandra's expression softened, her anger dissipating. Liam silently breathed a sigh of relief. But before he could celebrate how easy his wife was to pacify, it happened. Cassandra suddenly realized what she'd just done. She pushed Liam away, her face burning. Whatever. Who needs you to comfort them? I'm hungry. I want to eat. All right. Tell me what you want later, and I'll have the hotel send it up to the room. Oomph. Seeing her in full-on spoiled princess mode, Liam just shook his head helplessly. He hadn't married a wife. He'd married the queen of jealousy. Soon, Palmer pulled up to the hotel. Caleb had called ahead, so the back gate was open, allowing them to drive directly into the courtyard and park by a rear entrance. Their room was the presidential suite on the top floor, fully equipped with every amenity. Holding Cassandra's hand, the three of them took the elevator up. Once inside the room, Palmer quickly presented a menu for Cassandra to choose from. After she'd made her selections, Palmer, terrified of another pay cut, said quickly, I'll go have them prepare it now. Sir, ma'am, I'll be in the room next door. You can call if you need anything. Cassandra responded lazily, settling onto the sofa. As Palmer was about to leave, Liam hesitated for a moment before calling out. Wait. Palmer turned back immediately. Seeing Cassandra also staring at him curiously, Liam felt his toes curl in embarrassment. He scratched his head and gestured toward the bathroom. Don't rush off. Could you help me to the bathroom first? It was mortifying. He hadn't started physical therapy yet. If he felt trying to use the bathroom on his own, the embarrassment would be unbearable. And with Cassandra pregnant, as close as they were, he just couldn't bring himself to ask her to help him with something like this. Cassandra let out a small laugh. Seeing Liam's head sink lower and lower, she stood up knowingly. Go on, help him. I'm going to go into the bedroom. Call me when you're done. Liam let out a long sigh of relief. Palmer scratched his head and walked over, pushing Liam's wheelchair to the bathroom and helping him up. Seeing how honest and simple Palmer was, Liam whispered, Don't worry, Cassandra was just joking in the car. Don't take it to heart. I'll give you a big bonus later. At his words, Palmer nearly fell to his knees in gratitude. He sniffled, helping Liam with even more dedication. Meanwhile, Riley Thorne walked into the villa where Ethan Vance was staying. The moment she entered, she saw Ethan's mother, Natalie, sitting on the sofa. Seeing them arrive, Natalie stood up with a beaming smile and greeted Riley with overwhelming enthusiasm. "You must be Riley. My Ethan talks about you all the time. Seeing you today, I can see why. You're just wonderful." Riley felt a wave of disgust, but knew she had to play her part. She looked at Natalie, her eyes wide and innocent. "Hello, Aunt? Oh, such a well-behaved child. Your parents must be blind to treat you the way they do. If I had a daughter as sweet and lovely as you, I would spoil you to the heavens." On the way over, Ethan had given Natalie a rough version of the story, so she didn't hold back, immediately siding with Riley. Anyone else might have been touched by Natalie's words, but Riley, who already knew their true colors, just felt her brow furrow. What kind of thing is that to say? She could talk about her own parents however she wanted, but hearing it from an outsider left a bad taste in her mouth. Paige shot a similarly contemptuous look, but despite their displeasure, Riley had to swallow her anger for now. Seeing Riley's silence, Natalie assumed she had said the right thing and grew even more enthusiastic. Come, sit down. I prepared tea and snacks. Let's sit, eat, and chat." She ushered them to the sofa. "This girl is just wonderful. Ethan, darling, I think Riley is perfect. Why don't you two set a date? We should arrange the marriage." "Mom, you're being too hasty. It's too early to talk about that." "How is it early? Ethan, you're 26. It's time you got married. Since you two like each other, you should just get it done and be together." "Mom." Hearing the conversation veer so far off course, Riley's mouth twitched. She exchanged a look with Paige and decided to steer the conversation back herself. She cleared her throat, her eyes welling up with tears. "Auntie, I still want to know about my sister. I'm sure my parents are only angry with me because they're grieving for her. I think they still love me." She perfectly embodied the image of a poor, pitiful girl desperate for her family's love. Ethan, of course, didn't suspect a thing, but a flicker of doubt crossed Natalie's mind. She patted her son's hand and said gently, "Riley, dear, we don't really know the details of your sister's situation, but didn't we see on the news that they... Look, Annie knows you've been through a lot. After all this, you should be able to see clearly. Your parents, they don't really love you. No, they can't be like that." Riley blinked, her face a mask of utter despair. Tears welled up and streamed down her cheeks. Seeing Riley start to cry again, Ethan grew anxious. "Mom," he snapped, his expression hardening. "Mom, why don't you go to the other room and get some tissues?" He tried to find an excuse to get his mother out of the room. But Natalie wasn't a fool. She knew her son. She sighed, pulled a box of tissues from a drawer in the coffee table, and placed it on the table. "Ethan, just tell her," she said, her voice heavy with meaning. "The poor girl has suffered enough." Seeing his mother relent, Ethan's heart leaped. He turned to Riley. "Riley, actually, we're also to blame for this. I saw Jessica Fong before, but I never imagined she would do something like this." "Jessica Fong?" Riley froze, clearly not expecting him to give up that name. Beside her, Natalie stared at her idiotic son in shock. Even though this was all a lie, how could he just blurt out Jessica Fong's name in the very first sentence? "Yes, I saw her outside the villa before. I think she came with the Sun family. I didn't know about any of this then. It's my fault for not warning you to be careful." He expertly absolved himself of all blame in a single sentence. Natalie didn't agree with his approach, but the words were out, so she had to play along. "Yes, we should have warned you to be on guard earlier. That boy, Liam, sigh. He's a dead man anyway, so a little act won't hurt." Natalie's performance was quite convincing. Although their words exonerated them, it was too late. Caleb Thorne already had the evidence, and Riley knew about it. Hearing them say this now was as good as a confession. So this is all the cunning they have, Riley thought, a sly glint in her eye. She glanced at Paige, who subtly tapped her pocket. The recording was in progress. Now, all the pieces were falling into place. At the royal residence, in Lord Charles's study, a frantic Carol Xia rushed in, tears already streaming down her face the moment she entered. "Charles, Liam, my Liam, he..." She couldn't continue. Seeing Charles's equally pale face and Princess Anna's anxious fidgeting, Carol bit her lip, her heart aching. Unlike Riley's group, who were enjoying the drama, Carol Xia's heart was heavy with real sorrow. Though she didn't know Charles well, he was her late husband's biological father. Carol didn't know if Victor would have felt differently about Charles if he were still alive, but she was certain of one thing. Victor would have agreed to play this part for his children. At the thought, she didn't even need to act. The moment Victor Lin's name surfaced in her mind, her tears flowed uncontrollably. Her children were back, but her husband was gone forever. Carol wept, her voice choked with sobs, barely able to form words. Seeing her overwhelming grief, Charles was deeply moved. Princess Anna sighed, walked over, and gently patted Carol's shoulder. I've already sent people to investigate, Carol. Please don't worry. Sit here for a moment. I'll get you a cup of coffee. Who had time for coffee at a moment like this? It was just a comforting gesture, and Carol knew it. She looked at Charles, her expression dazed. Liam, I've sent people to investigate. Charles was heartbroken, but knew he had to hold it together for everyone. He took a deep breath, about to offer more words of comfort when a knock came at the study door. Enter, Charles called out. The door opened, and a subordinate entered, bowing his head. Your Majesty, we've looked into the matter. There was an explosion at the Chinese restaurant, and it was indeed where Mr. Lin and Ms. Thorne were dining. Who asked you about that? Charles's anxious voice cut him off before he could finish. I asked if they're alive. Are the autopsy results back? Have you caught the person behind this? It was a fatal trifecta of questions. Carol and Anna both turned to the man, their eyes fixed on him. Anna's gaze grew cold. What have you found? Report everything, word for word. Yes, ma'am. The subordinate nodded quickly. The coroner is still examining the bodies. Both were burned beyond recognition, so the medical examiner is having trouble with identification. They're working overtime, but the results won't be back for another 2 hours. We found no trace of Mr. Lin or Ms. Thorne at the scene. As for the perpetrator, there's a commotion at the restaurant. Our investigators on site report that there were 2 gunshots first. He was saying a lot without saying anything at all. After listening to the ramble, Charles slammed his hand on the desk. What is wrong with you people? You can't even find one person. Have you found the shooter? Seeing the subordinate shake his head, Charles nearly fainted. His face went white, and the room spun. Father, please, don't get worked up, Anna said urgently. She turned to the subordinate, her voice sharp. You said there's a commotion at the restaurant? What kind of commotion? Is there a video? Yes. The man quickly took out his phone and projected the live feed onto the large screen in the room. On the screen were Chloe Xia and Leo. They were outside the restaurant, arguing with the owner. A crowd of onlookers had gathered, many filming the scene with their phones. After the police had cordoned off and cleared the restaurant itself, the street had been reopened to the public. Carol, why are Chloe and the others there? Anna stood up, looking anxiously at Carol. We haven't found the person behind this yet. They could still be at the scene. It's too dangerous. Carol quickly replied. The kids insisted on going. I couldn't stop them. Chloe and her brother have always been very close. Actually, we have identified the person behind this, Your Majesty, the subordinate interjected. We searched all the rooms across the street with a viable firing angle. Only the attic of the opposite building had a visitor this afternoon. The surveillance footage caught her image. After investigating, we discovered the woman is named Jessica Fong. She was Mr. Lin's ex-girlfriend. The subordinate hesitated, not wanting to deliver such a messy report. It wasn't some rival family or enemy, but the ex-girlfriend. If news of this got out, that Liam and his current partner were murdered by an ex, the scandal would be horrendous. After he finished, Charles finally processed it. He whipped his head toward Carol. Liam's ex-girlfriend? Carol, what is all this? Anna's face was grim. This result was far too unexpected. When did Jessica Fong get here? Carol asked, seizing on the key point. We don't know. The visa department has no record of issuing her one. I suspect she was smuggled into the country, probably during the previous banquet. Find out. Charles roared, his eyes bloodshot. Find out who brought Jessica Fong here. Find that person and bring them and their entire family down. I want them to pay for Liam's life. Just then, Carol felt her phone vibrate in her pocket. She took it out and saw a message from Riley. Her expression tightened. Wait, what is it? The others all looked at her. Carol's face was pale. She looked at Charles, then at Anna, hesitating. Seeing her holding her phone but saying nothing, Anna urged, Carol, do you know something? Carol, if you know something, just say it. Charles said, his voice tight with anxiety. I promise you, with me here, the people who harmed Liam will not escape. Carol bit her lip and took a deep breath. She wiped away a tear and walked toward Charles, holding her phone out to him. You should see for yourself. Anxious, Anna hurried over to look with her father. When she saw the audio file Riley had sent, she quickly pressed play. In the next second, the voices of Natalie and Ethan Vance filled the study. It's our fault. We should have told Liam sooner. If we had, he wouldn't have died so horribly. Even though Liam and I had our issues, I should have told him about Jessica Fong. Riley, I bear some responsibility too, so I want to make it up to you. I hope you'll give me the chance. The voices of Ethan and Natalie echoed through the room. Anna's brow furrowed, her hand trembling as she held the phone. She had seen her sister's hostility towards Liam before, and had worried she might be involved, but she never imagined they actually knew. Anna instinctively glanced at her father. His pale, grim expression said it all. Father, Natalie, maybe she really didn't know. After all, Natalie was her sister. They had lived together for so many years. Between Natalie and Liam, Anna chose her sister. With that one sentence, Carol Sia understood why Liam had insisted on making this a public spectacle. Without the pressure, Natalie's status as a royal princess would have been the perfect shield. Carol bit her lip, strode forward, and snatched her phone back, her eyes blazing with fury as she looked at Charles. I need an explanation for this. The only option now was to pressure him. Charles hadn't expected his own daughter to be involved. For a moment, he slumped back in his chair, his mouth open, but no words came out. Anna quickly interjected, Carol, please, don't be angry. Natalie and Ethan said it themselves. They didn't know Jessica Fong would do something like this. I think there must be some misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Carol's eyes widened in disbelief. Because of a misunderstanding, my son had to pay with his life? Her voice was thunderous, reverberating through the study. At her sharp rebuke, Anna's face turned white. She wanted to argue further, but the words wouldn't come. The mention of the word son struck a chord with Charles. He gritted his teeth and looked deeply at Carol. Carol met his gaze without flinching. Charles, I respect you as Victor's father. Victor didn't grow up by your side, and neither did Liam. I searched for over 20 years to finally find my son, only for him to lose his life because of your family's misunderstanding. I will not believe this was a coincidence. You must give me an answer. Her logic was clear, her words a barrage that left Charles looking ashen. It's true. Haven't we all been searching for someone we missed for decades? His own Eleanor, who had mysteriously disappeared. He had searched, but to no avail. Only now, with Lawrence Landon captured, did he finally understand the truth of her disappearance, what the love of his life had endured all those years, and what had happened to their child. At the thought, a wave of unprecedented failure washed over him. He leaned back in his chair and slowly closed his eyes like a defeated man. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Carol's phone vibrated again. Another audio message from Riley. Without thinking, Carol played it for everyone to hear. Natalie's voice filled the room. Riley, Ethan is going to inherit the throne one day. He is devoted to you. I hope you'll marry into our family. With the royal family backing you, I'm sure your parents will be proud of you in the future. Understand your American traditions very well. For a girl to marry well is to bring honor to her family, isn't it? With Ethan's status, he is one in a million, even in your country. He is absolutely the best choice for you. Then your parents will surely pay attention to you. They'll finally see you. As the words faded, Anna looked as if she could have bitten through her own lip. Natalie's intentions were now laid bare. There was no explaining this away. Carol's expression was equally dark. What did she mean, American traditions? As if it weren't the same all over the world. One person's success lifts the entire family. The way she said was just plain ugly. Charles's face was now as black as coal. He might have been able to explain away Natalie's involvement in Liam's death, but her ambition for the throne was indefensible. Not just in the royal family, but in any major corporation or powerful clan. Scheming for inheritance was the most despicable act, because it almost always involved ruthless methods. Carol stared directly at Anna. Princess Anna, you heard every word. Are you still going to defend her? Anna stammered. She met Carol's questioning gaze and finally sighed. She turned to her father, her voice soft. Father, actually, my sister has held a great deal of hostility towards Liam before. I tried to talk to her to explain, but I never thought she... You don't need to say another word. Charles snapped, slamming his hand on the desk. He roared. Immediately, have Ethan Vance's title stripped. As long as I'm alive, I will not tolerate this kind of infighting. And continue the investigation. I want to know for certain if Liam's death is connected to them. Anna's heart sank. She knew her father was truly furious. Stripping a title was the greatest insult for a member of the royal family. It would cause their companies to falter, their stock to plummet. But the facts were laid bare, and there was no point in arguing further. At least Natalie was still a princess. The blow was significant, but not total. Anna nodded, about to agree, but Carol spoke up again. And what if it is? What if my son's death was their doing? Carol would not give an inch. This was the performance Liam had anticipated. If he hadn't, if he were truly dead, no amount of screaming now would matter. She would never, ever forgive them. Then we will do what must be done. Charles's demeanor had completely changed. He had just found the grandson he shared with Eleanor, and it was his failure that he couldn't protect him. He would not spare anyone responsible for this. Carol's eyes flashed. You won't protect them. Protect them. Charles exclaimed, staring at Carol. Carol, do you have so little faith in me? Don't forget, Victor was my son too. I will not shield anyone in this matter. If Natalie is innocent, so be it. But if she is truly involved, then it will be handled officially. The laws of the United Kingdom will not be mocked by anyone. This was clearly no longer just a family matter. Even in his grief, Charles was rational enough to analyze the stakes. The Thorne family, as one of America's most powerful dynasties, had numerous economic ties with the British monarchy. On the surface, this was a domestic dispute, but the story was already blowing up in the media. And Cassandra Thorne was involved. If this wasn't handled properly, it would escalate from a conflict between the royals and the Thornes to a diplomatic crisis between the UK and the US. Decisions between great nations were not to be made lightly. If only it hadn't gotten so big. Anna thought, looking with despair at the video on her phone of Chloe and Leo causing a scene in Chinatown. She bit her lip and turned to Carol. Carol, I have a question for you. Go on. Anna held up her phone, pointing to the video, and fixed her gaze on Carol. This scene, you didn't orchestrate this, did you? Everyone knew the impact of a story going viral. As a princess, the last thing Anna wanted was for her sister to be at fault, but the mistake had been made. She had to try to mitigate the damage from both sides. Hearing this, Charles also turned to Carol. His emotions had settled, but now, faced with a tidal wave of news and public opinion, he, too, felt a flicker of suspicion. Faced with their questioning eyes, Carol was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. Ha ha! What are you laughing at? Anna stared at her intently. Carol's laughter was mixed with tears, her entire demeanor transformed. She wiped her eyes and looked at Charles. I orchestrated it. You really have some imagination. My daughter has been taking care of my every need since she was in middle school. She worked her way through college, and the moment she got her first paycheck, she sent it home. She's not like you people. My daughter has never had an easy day in her life. Liam is her brother, the brother she's thought about for over 20 years. She was finally reunited with him, and before she could even enjoy a few good days, her brother was murdered. Why shouldn't she make a scene? How twisted are your minds to think that a normal person's emotional breakdown was orchestrated by someone else? Carol's words were like stones, pelting Charles and Anna, leaving them bruised and wounded. The poor are always struggling to survive. They don't have time for their own thoughts. The little warmth and hope they can find is the greatest treasure of their lives. But as royal heirs, Charles and Anna had lived in luxury since birth. Only when the body is satisfied does one have time to contemplate matters of the soul. And here they were, presuming to judge someone who had fought for everything, mocking their lack of sophistication, insinuating their actions were driven by selfishness. They weren't raised in the same world. Their ways of thinking were fundamentally different. Hope, what mocking word. It seemed invented specifically for the poor, a hollow comfort for those who toil in darkness with a bleak future. After just a few sentences, Anna's face went pale. She lowered her head, whether in regret or because she realized she'd made a mistake. Carol sneered, her eyes fixed on Charles. Your Majesty, although you are Victor's father, I think you now understand why my son Liam didn't want to come back. Aside from that tiny, inescapable drop of blood, I see no reason for him to return. He has no desire to acknowledge you as his grandfather. They were never from the same world. Forcing them together would only lead to pain and nothing more. Carol believed that even if her husband, Victor Lynn, were standing here today, he would have defended his children. Their children were born to be happy. It was their mistake years ago that had delayed that happiness for over 2 decades. She would make up for it, and she would always stand behind Liam and Chloe. Without giving Charles or Anna another chance to speak, Carol turned and left with resolute determination. As if holding a breath of fury in her chest, she walked out of the villa, fresh tears of grief and anger appearing on her face. She had just raised a hand to wipe them away when she heard Riley's voice behind her. Aunt Carol. Carol turned around, dazed, and saw Riley and Paige jogging over from the garden. The moment they met, Riley's eyes widened as she looked at Carol. Aunt Carol, why are you crying? Were you crying in there the whole time? Carol was taken aback, her expression tense. Weren't you with Natalie? We found an excuse to slip out. Paige and I were about to make a break for it. Ethan didn't follow you. He did, but I told him I was in a bad mood and wanted to play hide and seek. Riley grinned and scratched her head. He can spend the rest of his life looking for me, huh? Oh, you. Carol finally managed a laugh. Let's get out of here first. There are a lot of guards around. We don't want to get caught and dragged back in, Paige said, glancing around nervously. Night had fallen over the royal estate, and the number of guards had increased. Although it was brightly lit, Carol and Riley were familiar faces, having been at the last banquet. The guard saw them, but didn't stop them. The three of them quickly got into a car. As the door closed and the engine started, they all let out a collective sigh of relief. Riley leaned through the gap between the front seats, her face close to Carol's slightly red-rimmed eyes. They looked at each other and smiled. "Aunt Carol, did you play them the recording I sent?" Carol smiled and nodded. Looking at Riley's own red-rimmed eyes, she said, "Of course. And thank you for that recording. It was perfectly timed and captured just what we needed." Rarely praised, Riley practically jumped with excitement. "I told you it was good. What was the monarch's face like? Was he super angry?" "Angry. Yes, there was that, but only at the beginning. Once the topic turned to Natalie, the old man seemed to become much more rational." After a moment's thought, Carol decided not to tell Riley that part. She just showered her with praise. "Yes, they were furious. They said they'd make the person behind this pay for Liam's life. Hee, I knew I was the one for the job. When we get back, I'll have Dad send over that contract. Let's see how Ethan Vance gets out of this one." Riley was ecstatic. Carol sighed and said no more. She had seen their attitude. Whether it would be handled officially or not would depend on Charles's final decision. Thinking about how Chloe and the others had made the story trend online, Carol's lips curled into a smirk. It's gotten so big, I doubt he has a choice but to deal with it publicly. The hashtag Liam Lynn presumed dead exploded, sitting stubbornly at the top of the trending list in the US. As a viral celebrity famous for his legendary exploits, Liam's name was now #1. News of the explosion in the UK's Chinatown spread like wildfire, even drawing a response from the US Embassy. Local news outlets in the UK were providing round-the-clock coverage. "Liam's dead? Good. Ha 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 ha. That little bastard. Someone finally couldn't stand him anymore. He's finally dead. It must be my Jason. His spirit in heaven has finally found justice." In a rundown, lower-end apartment, David Hamilton threw his head back and laughed, a cathartic release of a decade's worth of pent-up anger. Sandra, who was in the kitchen, rushed out without even wiping her hands. Her hands, stained with blood from preparing food, snatched the phone and stared at the news on the screen. "Sandra, this must be Jason's spirit in heaven. He's gotten his own revenge. If Isabel knew, she'd be so happy." David's sallow face flushed with a ruddy excitement. He grabbed Sandra's arm, his face wreathed in a manic grin. "Sandra, quick, go buy a bottle of wine. With this great news, we have to celebrate tonight. Get a chicken. We'll make chicken soup." Sandra covered her mouth, her face alight with joy as she stared at the phone, nodding vigorously. Chicken soup. Noelle, who had been lying in bed, deathly ill, forced herself to sit up. At the mention of chicken soup, her eyes lit up. "Noelle, you're feeling better?" Sandra looked at her precious daughter in disbelief, but seeing her pale, thin face, she couldn't help but cover her mouth and start crying. How long had it been since their family had eaten meat? After this string of blows, the Hamilton family had no hope of recovery. Worn down and numbed by daily labor, Sandra had come to terms with it. As long as the three of them were safe, that was enough. At least Noelle was still with them. In the days since the Shaw family had moved from Solara Island, the Taft family had taken over their failed company, causing a major shift in the local economy. Sandra had thought their lives would get even harder. But after the Shaws left, not only did Sandra get recognized at work, but her experience got her a position in HR. Her work became a little less demanding, and she had a little extra money to buy medicine for Noelle. And now Liam was dead. Their suffering was finally over. They had made it. "Quick, Sandra, go buy wine. I'll cook tonight. I'll make chicken soup for you and Noelle." David, who had been languishing in bed, was suddenly full of energy. He got up full of enthusiasm. Sandra nodded and hurried out to buy wine. Japan, the Shaw family residence. "Dad, Dad!" From far away, Stephen Shaw's voice rang out before he even reached the small house. Simon Shaw, who was in the living room drinking tea and reading the newspaper, was startled. He had just set down his teacup when his son stumbled in. Wendy, her apron still on, poked her head out of the kitchen, a look of exasperation on her face. "Stephen, what are you running so fast for? This child always so reckless." Huh. Stephen panted, holding up his phone, his face ecstatic. "Big news. Mom, Dad, big news. What is it?" "Slow down." Wendy came over, her face full of curiosity. Stephen took a few deep breaths to calm himself, then blurted out words that stunned the two elders. "Dad, Mom, Liam is dead." Clang. The spoon in Wendy's hand fell to the floor. Simon slammed his newspaper shut, his eyes wide. "What did you say?" "It's true. Liam, he died in Chinatown in the UK. Someone planted a bomb where he was eating. He and Cassandra Thorne were both blown up. Stephen was overjoyed, but seeing his parents' strange expressions, he was confused. Mom, Dad, this is great news. We should be happy. What's wrong with you two? Simon's face darkened, his expression complex. He glanced at his wife, Wendy, and saw her looking back at him. They exchanged a look, both at a loss for words. Seeing his parents' silence, the atmosphere in the small living room grew heavy. Stephen sat down on the sofa, a look of righteous satisfaction on his face. He made my sister suffer so much. He deserved to die. Mom, Dad, you're not feeling sorry for him, are you? A person like him should have died a long time ago. When he didn't speak, she just bent down, picked up a spoon, and went back to the kitchen to stir the pot. Simon's gaze hardened. He looked at his son, who was still rambling on, and after a moment said, Stephen, about your sister's situation. He trailed off, then hesitated. Seeing Stephen's confused expression, Simon sighed and continued. The Thorne family's new son-in-law, along with their precious daughter. To suffer such a fate. The Thorne family must be. He looked at Wendy and ordered, Wendy, when you're done, please call the Thornes on our behalf. We have some history with them, after all. Such a tragedy. Wendy didn't turn around, but her voice was choked with emotion. Hearing his parents say this, Stephen was instantly dissatisfied. Mom, Dad, what's wrong with you? They were the ones who teamed up to hurt my sister. Now that they're dead, we should be setting off fireworks to celebrate. Why are we sending them condolences? Stephen, Simon scolded, his expression suddenly severe, startling Stephen into sitting up straight. Simon sighed, his face a mixture of emotions. You can't say that. In this matter, your sister was the one who was wrong in the first place. Stephen's eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't believe his father was siding with outsiders. Simon's gaze grew heavy. An eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. When Liam had his accident and the Thornes were hosting the wedding, they still had the grace to invite us. Now that they've lost their daughter and son-in-law, we cannot kick them while they're down. But they were the ones who did this to my sister. She's still in a coma. Mom, Dad, you can't side with outsiders against your own family. Stephen cried out in shock. Stephen, Wendy's voice was sharp as she turned around. You need to understand, what your sister did was a capital offense. If it weren't for Liam's help, your sister wouldn't even be here right now. Stephen was stunned for a moment, but he remained unconvinced. Mom, don't try to fool me. The UK doesn't have the death penalty. If you hadn't gone to Liam for help, my sister's plane never would have crashed, and she wouldn't be in a coma. At the very least, she'd still be in prison. Stephen, before he could finish, Simon cut him off. Do you really think being in prison is a good thing? With your sister's temperament, she wouldn't last a day in there. This whole mess was her own doing. She got what she deserved. Hearing his father's words, Stephen's face went pale. He shook his head, unable to believe that his parents were siding with the Thornes. Revenge is a cycle that never ends, Stephen, Simon sighed, his tone softening. I don't need you to seek revenge. We've already moved our whole family here. Your mother, and I just want you to be happy. From now on, don't provoke the Thorne family. Let's just live our lives in peace. Stephen was utterly shocked. He looked at his parents in disbelief, shook his head again, then stood up and stormed into his bedroom. Seeing his son act this way, Simon sighed and looked up at the ceiling. Wendy's eyes were red. She rubbed them and looked at her husband. My love, you're doing this to protect Stephen. What else can I do? Our family is out of the game now. With Caleb Thorne at the helm, the Thorne family will always be a top power. If I don't make things clear today, Stephen will definitely cause trouble for them in the future. Sigh, that boy Liam. Wendy's voice was choked with emotion. After all, she had helped raise him for a time. The feelings were still there. Now that Liam was dead, she felt a wave of sadness. To think a living, breathing person is just gone. Perhaps this was his fate, Simon said with a sigh of resignation. Wendy, the Thornes might not take my call. You should be the one to call them. It's a small gesture from our family. When he wiped her tears and nodded. All right, the royal residence. Dad. Anna approached her father, who was staring silently at the encrypted Thorne family file that a subordinate had delivered. She glanced over and saw the words Ethan Vance, Jessica Fong, and contract in large letters. So it really was true. It really was my sister Natalie's doing. Anticipating her father's impending rage, Anna's tone softened, hoping to appeal to whatever sliver of paternal love Charles had left. That worthless scum. Charles roared, slamming the contract down on the table. The loud bang echoed through the vast study. Anna jumped, so startled she nearly fell to her knees. She had never seen her father this angry. His own family, conspiring with outsiders to harm his own blood. If a story like that got out, the monarchy's reputation would be ruined. Dad, Natalie was probably scared. After all, Liam and Ethan had some bad blood between them. She was just being too impulsive. You know how she is, she might have. Anna scrambled to make excuses for her sister, but Charles cut her off mercilessly. Anna, you don't need to say another word. You know what your sister has done over the years, and so do I. Today, she let her own son conspire with an outsider to lay a hand on my own grandson. Tell me, what reason do I have to forgive her? Does she even deserve my forgiveness? Charles was clearly livid, his face flushed with rage. Anna swallowed hard. But Dad, this has already become such a huge incident. If we really go through official channels, the royal family's reputation. Her words were like a bucket of water on his freshly lit fire. The reputation of the monarchy. As its head, Charles was responsible for countless people. If this scandal were exposed, the British royal family would be mired in disgrace for generations. They might never recover. Even so, Charles gritted his teeth. Go. Lock up Natalie and Ethan. From this day forward, they are not to appear in public. A flicker of relief crossed Anna's face. Yes. Wait. In the morning, have the car prepared. I'm going to the Thorne residence personally. Anna's expression tensed. Dad, the investigation is complete. They've already sent us the evidence. Why are you still going there? To apologize. Charles roared. My daughter has done such a despicable thing. As her father, it is my duty to go and apologize in person. His expression shifted, and he gave another order. Don't just lock them up. Take them to the holding cells. Seal the mouths of the media. Don't let them out today. Yes, sir. Mom, have you seen Riley? She said she wanted to play hide-and-seek with me. It's past curfew, and the lights are out, but she still hasn't come to find me. Ethan Vance rushed back to the guest house. Natalie was nibbling on snacks and scrolling through the news on her phone. She looked up, startled. Did she get lost outside? Take a few men and go look for her. There are a lot of plants and trees out there. We don't want her getting lost. Okay. Ethan nodded and was about to rush out when a swarm of guards stormed through the main entrance of the guest house. His face changed. Before he could even ask why they were intruding so late at night, two guards grabbed him by the arms. In the living room, Natalie dropped her phone and shot to her feet. You insolent fools! Who gave you the audacity to lay a hand on Mr. Vance? Mom. Ethan's arms were pinned painfully. He looked to his mother for help. The lead guard walked forward and grabbed Natalie's arms as well. Our apologies, ma'am. It's the monarch's order. Father. Natalie was stunned. Impossible. Why will my father have you arrest me? Mom, what's going on? Why would grandfather have us arrested? Ethan panicked. He didn't understand what was happening, and his limbs were aching from the guard's grip. He could only cry out to his mother. Natalie was equally shocked. Don't you dare use my father's name to scare me. I am the king's daughter, the princess. Why do you have to arrest me? Let me go. But no one answered her. In the next second, black hoods were pulled over their heads, and they were dragged out together. The next morning, Charles took an early car to the Stanton estate. Caleb and Catherine Thorne were waiting for him in the study. After learning the full extent of the plan, Catherine's tense expression had finally relaxed. Combined with the restorative tonics Evelyn had prescribed, her complexion had improved significantly overnight, though her face remained stern. Now, Charles stood alone, facing the grim couple. In the grand study of the Stanton estate, Charles knelt before them. The gesture made Catherine's heart tremble. She instinctively grabbed her husband's arm. Caleb's brow furrowed. He stared at Charles, his voice even. Your Majesty, what is the meaning of this? Charles, who had always held his head high, was now bowed, his dignity crumbling. I have investigated the matter. I have come today to apologize to the Thorne family. His voice was low, laced with regret and a plea for peace. Caleb exchanged a look with Catherine and saw right through him. He didn't move, his voice remaining cold. If you've come to plead for your daughter, then there's nothing more to say. We've seen everything she's done to our family. The monarch of the United Kingdom, at the pinnacle of honor, kneeling. The gesture was heavy with meaning. On one side, his daughter. On the other, the grandson he had just found after he'd been lost for decades. To punish her severely would create a royal scandal that would take generations to overcome. The monarchy's reputation would be destroyed. Charles knew which was more important. So his kneeling was a personal sacrifice of pride, a hope that this could be contained. As for his daughter, he would keep her under strict watch. But Caleb Thorne was no fool. With a single sentence, he had exposed Charles's true intentions. Charles's face fell. He slowly rose to his feet and looked at Caleb. Caleb, it is true that my daughter did wrong. I am heartbroken over what happened to Liam and Cassandra. But if this gets out, it will reflect poorly on both our families. On us. Catherine's eyes flashed with fire. Your Majesty, the Thorne family is the victim. Since when does the victim have to worry about scandal? Do not try to fool us with such nonsense. Charles's face went pale. He raised a hand as if to speak, but the words died on his lips. The atmosphere turned to ice. Caleb narrowed his eyes. Your Majesty, I only want to know one thing. Have you decided on the reparations your family will offer ours? Reparations? Charles faltered, his face ashen. It was more than reparations. For him, if he didn't punish her severely, he wouldn't be able to face himself. Carol Xia's words from yesterday had been like a slap across the face, keeping him up all night. But ultimately, he didn't want this to blow up. He hesitated, then stumbled back a few steps and collapsed onto the sofa. If it is acceptable, he began, his voice strained, I will place Natalie and Ethan under lifelong house arrest. They will never be permitted to step outside the royal residence again. His voice was loud, his words sincere, his eyes pleading. Catherine saw it all. Now she understood why her daughter and son-in-law had to fake their own deaths. Even when Charles believed Liam was truly dead, this was his idea of a severe punishment. Imagine if they hadn't made a scene. Caleb's eyes widened slightly, as if he had expected this. He let out a cold laugh, his gaze sharp. Your Majesty, is this what you call a severe punishment? Charles trembled. This concerns the reputation of the royal family. If this were to be made public, it would be a scandal. He could only state the plain truth. Catherine was shaking with rage. She was about to leap to her feet, but Caleb held her back. He stared at Charles, a smile playing on his lips that held no warmth. Fine. A flicker of light appeared in Charles's eyes, but Caleb's next words made him freeze. In that case, all business between the royal family and the Thorne family is hereby terminated. Caleb's words were delivered with casual finality. Charles's eyes went wide with shock. Caleb, do you know what you're saying? Our families have cooperated for over a decade. Terminating our business now will cause losses for your family as well. Haven't our losses been great enough? Caleb's voice thundered through the room, his tone resolute, his words sharp. I have already lost my daughter and my son-in-law. The Thorne family has nothing left to fear. Besides, with the way the U.S. economy is growing, do you really think we will fall without your royal cooperation? America's recent growth had already put other nations on alert. In the long run, losing the Thorne family as an ally, given their status in the U.S., would make it nearly impossible for the monarchy to recover its standing. Charles was silent. He never expected Caleb to adopt such a scorched earth mentality. Seeing his silence, Caleb continued, Your Majesty, Ethan may be your grandson, but Liam is your grandson as well. You announced this yourself at the banquet just days ago. I'm sure the other families are watching this unfold. The monarchy's decision is being awaited by all. Do you really think anyone will trust a family that cannot even protect its own kin? In terms of sheer power, Charles may have had the upper hand, but Caleb's fearless nature was a force in itself. He had laid out the stakes in plain language, and it was clear from the silence that his words had hit their mark. For a powerful family, especially the monarchy, reputation was one thing, but credibility was everything. If a family couldn't even handle its own internal affairs, who would invest in them? Especially with the matter having blown up so publicly. If there was no severe punishment, the laws of the United Kingdom would become a joke. Thinking it through, Charles took a long, deep breath. I understand. Then what does the Thorne family want? A public trial. Follow your own laws. Detail the event online and release it to the public. Caleb stated his terms directly. At this point, Charles had no room to argue. He nodded, but still tried to plead for his daughter. The contract was signed by Ethan. Natalie is, at most, guilty of incitement. His voice trailed off. Catherine, furious, was about to speak again, but just then, the study door was pushed open. Entering the room were the very people who had been confirmed dead, Liam and Cassandra. Catherine's eyes lit up. She shot up from her seat and rushed over, circling them both, checking them from head to toe. Seeing they were unharmed, she finally let out a long sigh of relief. You two, you scared me to death, Catherine said, her voice thick with emotion as she wiped away a tear. Charles stared, his eyes wide, completely frozen. He looked at the couple by the door, rubbed his eyes in disbelief, and stammered. Liam, Cassandra, you're alive. His voice was a mixture of surprise and nervousness. Cassandra shot him a cold glance, then pushed Liam's wheelchair into the study and settled onto a side sofa. Liam caught Caleb's eye and nodded, then turned to Charles with a placid smile. What's the matter? Are you unhappy that I'm alive, grandfather? He put a special emphasis on the last word. Charles stiffened. Happy. Of course I'm happy. Liam, it's wonderful that you're alive. Does this mean that before you were your family's intentions? Cassandra and I figured those out a long time ago. Liam said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. It dawned on Charles. He slapped his hand against his leg, his voice filled with righteous anger. Those two little monsters. To think they could harbor such venomous thoughts. Why get back? I will punish them severely. Empty words. Who couldn't see through them? Liam's lips curled up. He glanced at Caleb, intending to let his father-in-law handle it. But when he looked over, he saw Caleb with his arm around Catherine, the two of them in their own world, clearly leaving this to him. Liam's smile froze. He looked at his own wife, who had already grabbed a pillow, gotten comfortable, and was now playing a game on her phone. Liam's face darkened. This whole family was clearly handing the reins. He sighed and turned back to Charles. Your Majesty, you don't have to say these pleasantries for my benefit. Just as you said a moment ago, even though Cassandra and I have been miraculously resurrected, the root of this issue lies with them. Whether it's attempted murder or incitement, this must be handled in the open. I've already looked up the relevant laws. The charge of attempted murder is not a minor one. Ethan Vance is an adult. He's looking at a minimum of 20 years in prison. He said it with a smile, even holding up 2 fingers. Charles looked awkward. He glanced at Caleb, who was still pointedly not looking in their direction. Thinking that Liam was just a kid, young and easy to persuade, he softened his tone. My boy, I'm aware of the situation. Grandfather promises you, they will not inherit anything. I will find a place for them in the countryside and settle them there. They will never appear before you again. How does that sound? They're just kids, Charles thought. They're young. Once this blows over in a few years, everyone's anger will have cooled. Liam and Cassandra will be married by then. I can bring Natalie and Ethan back then. With Liam and Cassandra alive, the monarchy's reputation was safe. The rest could be handled privately. As for the explosion, a simple misunderstanding would clear it up. No one would dare say otherwise. Seeing Caleb remain silent, Charles silently breathed a sigh of relief, thinking the matter was settled. But he had no idea. Even when facing Caleb Thorne with nothing to his name, Liam had never been afraid. Now, with the full backing of the Thorne family, he was not about to be so easily fooled. Liam's expression didn't change. He kept smiling. Your Majesty, is the law in the United Kingdom such a casual joke? That? How can you say that? Charles was taken aback. After all, Natalie is your aunt, and Ethan is your cousin. Oh, so because it's a family matter, it's okay to plant bombs and try to kill people. Liam replied with a serene smile. Charles was stunned silent. As he fumbled for words, he saw Liam hold up his phone. It seems it's not so safe abroad after all. No matter where you go in the world, it's all about who you know. Charles's eyes widened. He finally realized that their entire conversation had just been recorded. With the incident already so public, even if Liam was alive and no one died, the charge of attempted murder was inescapable. If this video was leaked, Liam, realizing he'd been played, Charles's face turned ashen. He roared, What exactly do you want? What do I want? Didn't I just say? Liam's lips curled up as he spoke softly. Justice. Fair and impartial. You. Round and round they went, right back to those same words. Charles's mouth hung open. He looked around and saw the others all minding their own business. It finally hit him. This wasn't an opportunity. This was a trap. Liam was even harder to fool than Caleb Thorne, and he had unknowingly walked right into it and been recorded. After a long silence, Charles finally sighed. He seemed to deflate, aging years in a single moment. Fine, 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 he said, repeating the word 3 times. His expression then shifted, his gaze turning sharp as he looked at Liam. I will agree to your terms, but I have a demand of my own. Go on. I will announce your relationship with the royal family to the media. From this day forward, you are not to evade the fact that you are my biological grandson. Charles's tone was sharp, leaving no room for refusal. Having already lost Natalie, the royal family's standing could not be shaken further. He needed Liam to acknowledge his place to solidify the family's position. Liam was about to refuse, but then he glanced at Cassandra, who was engrossed in her game, and at the slight curve of her belly beneath her arm. The weight of a future family of 3 was on his shoulders. An extra title was an extra layer of insurance. He took a deep breath, about to nod in agreement, when Caleb's voice cut in from the side. That's not happening. Liam's going to take over our Thorne family in the future. You old man, don't even think about dumping your family's baggage on my son-in-law. At that, Charles's whiskers practically bristled with rage. You were quiet just a moment ago, but now you're all fired up? Caleb, what is the meaning of this? Liam is my grandson. What's wrong with him taking over my family? It's his duty. Caleb shot back, not giving an inch. He's only one person. My Thorne empire is big enough to keep him busy. And you want to poach my son-in-law? What kind of crooked idea is that? And you have the gall to call Liam your son-in-law? He's my grandson, by blood. No matter how you slice it, he's closer to us. Lord Charles's face hardened, his regal composure cracking. Caleb Thorne didn't back down an inch. Is that how closeness works? My Cassandra and Liam are the closest people on this planet. Don't you forget it. He carries the blood of my family. Charles shot back. Hey, don't you get unreasonable with me, old man. The tension in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Just as the two patriarchs looked ready to throw down, a soft chuckle cut through the air. It was Cassandra. The sound, light and amused, instantly deflated the hostile atmosphere. Liam turned to her, a look of pure confusion on his face. She met his gaze, her lips curling into a knowing smirk, as if she was enjoying a private joke. She stared at him, her eyes dancing. How do you want to play this, Liam? Instantly, every head in the room swiveled toward him. The gazes were fiery, possessive, like wolves fighting over a prize. Liam swallowed hard, the words catching in his throat. Your Majesty, he began, choosing his words carefully. I think these are two separate issues that shouldn't be conflated. First, there was the matter of Natalie and Ethan's crimes. Then, there was the separate question of whether he would ever formally join the royal family. There was no room for negotiation between the two. Besides, Caleb had already laid his cards on the table. If he was expected to take over the Thorne Empire one day, his loyalties had to be clear. How can they not be conflated? Charles pressed, his eyes blazing with a desperate plan. Once the verdict comes down, Anna will be all alone. You could come back, and you two could support each other. Support each other? What are you talking about? Caleb scoffed, his voice rising. Liam is my future son-in-law. He's going to be taking over the Thorne family business. Your family is a chaotic mess. Are you trying to drag my boy down into the mud with you? If Caleb had been merely considering Liam before, this blatant attempt to poach him had solidified his resolve. He wasn't letting him go for anything. Ignoring Caleb completely, Charles fixed his gaze on Liam, his expression full of hopeful expectation. Liam's mouth twitched. He wrapped an arm around Cassandra's shoulders, pulling her close. Your Majesty, he said with a polite but firm smile. I think I made myself clear last time. My home is here with her. He stood shoulder to shoulder with Cassandra, his meaning unmistakable. Charles's face fell. A wave of embarrassment washed over him, and he looked like he was about to plead with Liam to reconsider. But seeing the easy intimacy between the couple, he knew it was a lost cause. Caleb, on the other hand, looked smugly triumphant. He pulled his own wife, Catherine, closer, his chin jutting out so far it was a miracle it didn't detach. Very well. Charles finally sighed, a long, weary sound. He looked utterly defeated. If you've made your decision, I won't force the issue. As the oldest person in the room, his slumped shoulders and downcast eyes gave him the heartbreaking look of an abandoned old man. Catherine sighed, her heart softening. Why don't you stay for dinner, Your Majesty, she offered, though it was likely just a polite platitude. Charles just shook his head silently. He stood, turned toward the study door, and gave a small, dismissive wave without looking back. He left. As his lonely figure disappeared down the hall, the room was silent. Once he was gone, Caleb finally let out a massive sigh of relief. Trying to steal my son-in-law. In his dreams. The nerve of him, thinking he could poach someone our family has its eye on. Absolutely delusional. Caleb huffed, now among family and free to speak his mind. Catherine gently patted her husband's arm and shot an apologetic smile at Liam. Cassandra, meanwhile, clutched her phone in one hand and wrapped her other arm around Liam's, holding on tight as if she were afraid he might vanish. Seeing her, Liam suddenly felt like a lamb that had willingly walked into a den of very possessive, very wealthy wolves. His lips twitched as he glanced down at the little game on Cassandra's phone screen. A moment later, Catherine's voice cut through the quiet. Now that the outsider is gone. Liam, Cassandra, I believe it's time we settled our accounts. The moment she spoke, Cassandra's hand twitched. The little character on her screen leaped straight off a cliff. The word failed flashed in red. She snapped her head up. A shiver went down Liam's spine. He met Catherine's gaze, which was a terrifying mix of a smile and a razor blade. He flinched and tried to play dumb. Aunt Catherine, what accounts? Oomph, Catherine snorted. She gave Caleb a look, and he immediately sprang to his feet, rushed to the door, and slammed it shut. The sound made Liam's heart plummet. Cassandra, however, remained unervingly calm. Catherine cleared her throat, a cold smile playing on her lips. You two are really something else, keeping your plans from your own mother and father. You had me worried sick for an entire night, having nothing but nightmares. What? Did you think we couldn't keep a secret? She might have let Caleb off the hook. He could never win an argument with Cassandra anyway. But Catherine had been the last to know. When she'd woken up that morning, her heart had felt like it stopped. If Caleb hadn't been there to immediately explain it was all part of their plan, she would have broken down completely. And here they were, calm enough to be playing games on their phones while she, their mother, had been dangling over an emotional cliff for a day and a night. Liam knew he was in the wrong. He bowed his head sheepishly. I'm sorry, Aunt Catherine. We just thought. The fewer people who knew, the lower the chance of a leak. We only told Palmer what he needed to know to help us. We never thought you would faint. He knew that extreme stress could make a person dizzy, but he'd never realized someone could actually pass out from shock. If he'd predicted that, they would have told Catherine and Caleb beforehand. I was scared to death. Cassandra is my daughter. You're the son-in-law I chose for her. We're a family. I hold you in my heart, and you two treat me like I'm yesterday's news. It was a bit of a dramatic exaggeration, fueled by internet memes and the fact that she wasn't truly angry, but it came out naturally. But Liam, who didn't know her that well, broke out in a cold sweat. He glanced at Cassandra, who had already started another round of her game, and nudged her with his elbow. Aren't you going to say something? He whispered urgently. Cassandra just snorted, looking up at him. She saw the sweat on his forehead and the panic in his eyes. A small smile touched her lips. The next words out of her mouth stunned everyone in the room. What are you going to do, Mom? Are you going to hit us? Cassandra tilted her head back, her expression one of pure, shameless defiance. If Catherine hadn't been genuinely angry before, she was now. Having been kept in the dark and worried sick for a full night, her patience snapped. Her face fell, her voice trembling with hurt. Cassandra, your father and I have never laid a hand on you. This was a huge deal, and you didn't tell us. You made us frantic, and now you have the nerve to act like you're in the right. Before she could finish, Cassandra jutted out her chin. Then hit me, she declared. Go on. I'm pregnant. You'll be hitting your grandchild, too. Swoosh. Catherine shot to her feet. Beside her, Caleb's eyes went wide, staring at his precious daughter in disbelief. It took a moment for Liam to process it. Then he, too, turned to stare at Cassandra. So that's why she wasn't worried. This was her ace in the hole. Wait, didn't you say you wanted to wait until the wedding to tell them? Liam whispered, leaning close to her ear as he watched her parents' stunned expressions. Cassandra pouted. Can't you see my waistline? It's already bigger. If I didn't tell them now, they'd figure it out on their own soon enough. Liam scratched his head awkwardly. In the next second, Catherine lunged forward and grabbed Cassandra's wrist, her eyes shining with excitement. Cassandra, you're pregnant? When did this happen? Why didn't you say anything sooner? Trying to recall the exact timing, Cassandra herself wasn't sure. She scratched her head in frustration. I don't know, she said, looking up. I just am. Clap. Caleb slapped his hands together, his face beaming with the same ecstatic energy. This is wonderful. Fantastic news. I'm going to be a grandfather. Catherine, we're going to be grandparents. Does Carol know? Have you told him? Or are we the first to find out? Catherine's eyes were fiery, already angling for competitive superiority. But they already found out when Liam and I visited his hometown, Cassandra stated, her newfound frankness a product of spending so much time around Liam. Liam had been about to spin a little white lie to make Catherine feel better, but Cassandra had just dropped the unvarnished truth. Seeing the flash of vinegar in Catherine's eyes, Liam quickly tried to smooth things over. Aunt Catherine, it's not that we meant to hide it. We only just found out ourselves not too long ago. You too. Catherine cut him off, her lips pursed. We're always the last to know everything. All you do is make us worry. That's right. From now on, you tell us everything first. No more secrets. Caleb, seeing his wife's pique, immediately put on a stern face. Yes, I understand. Uncle, Aunt, from now on, I'll tell you everything first. Liam nodded profusely, accepting the blame. He wiped a bead of sweat from his brow, thinking to himself that this entire family was prone to jealousy. It was clearly genetic. What's this uncle and aunt nonsense? Cassandra is pregnant. It's time to change how you address us, Liam. Caleb prompted with a kind smile. Catherine, catching on, looked at Liam with the same expectant expression. Liam knew what they meant, but the words felt foreign and difficult to say. He hadn't even been able to bring himself to call Carol Siamam yet, let alone these two. Seeing his awkwardness, Cassandra stepped in. Mom, Dad, let's save that for the wedding. Liam and I are going to have another ceremony at the beginning of the year. Seeing that Cassandra was protecting Liam, Catherine and Caleb exchanged a look and dropped the subject. Good. Another one. You absolutely should have another one. Caleb nodded, his gaze falling lovingly on the two of them. And another thing, Cassandra added with a benevolent smile, I need to rest during my pregnancy, and Liam's leg is still healing. So, Dad, don't even think about dumping the family business on him yet. Caleb, his plan exposed, scratched his head and mumbled, Fine, fine. Then, after you give birth. After I give birth, Liam will be helping me with the baby during the postpartum period. Cassandra declared. She's right, Caleb, Catherine chimed in, frowning in disapproval. You barely helped me when I was recovering. You don't want Cassandra to go through the same thing, do you? Caleb looked profoundly awkward. Right. Okay, after the postpartum period. After that, Liam is taking me on a honeymoon. Catherine nodded emphatically. Exactly, Caleb. They've hardly had any time together. Now that they've finally found their way back to each other, the two of them deserve a trip, don't you think? Caleb, now scratching his head in complete surrender, forced a hearty laugh. You're right, of course you are. So, after you get back from your honeymoon. This time, Cassandra didn't object. Caleb breathed a sigh of relief, the vision of his retirement finally shimmering on the horizon. Liam, however, shot a look at Cassandra, whose face was a mask of smug satisfaction, like a master strategist whose plan had just clicked perfectly into place. He couldn't help but sigh. A honeymoon, huh? And who, he wondered, would decide how long that would last? Still, thanks to Cassandra's maneuvering, he had just been gifted a rare vacation. It looked like he wouldn't have to work for the next few years. He couldn't resist leaning in, giving her pinky finger a gentle squeeze, and whispering, You're the best, my dear wife. The warm breath on her ear sent a flush of red creeping up her skin. Cassandra let out a haughty humph and quickly tried to open her game again. But before the screen could even load, Catherine snatched the phone away. What are you doing playing games? Cassandra, come on, get ready. We're going shopping. We need to buy things for my precious grandbaby. Now that she knew her daughter was pregnant, Catherine couldn't sit still. She was on her feet, buzzing with energy. She had at least gotten a night's sleep. Cassandra and Liam had just gotten back that morning and had barely warmed their seats. Liam was one thing, but how could a pregnant Cassandra handle that kind of exertion? Liam quickly took the phone back from Catherine. Aunt Catherine, he said with a placating smile, Cassandra didn't rest well last night. If you really want to go shopping, why don't you invite Aunt Carol? We'd like to rest a bit more. Caleb backed him up. Catherine, let the kids rest. They've been through a lot these past few days. They must be exhausted. Catherine came to her senses. She nodded, but then, as if remembering something, she looked at them with a new intensity. Rest is fine, she said, her voice dropping to a serious, conspiratorial whisper. But Mom needs to tell you something. Now that you're pregnant, you absolutely cannot do that sort of thing. Swoosh. Cassandra's face instantly turned beet red. Caleb, who had just raised a cup to his lips, nearly spit out his water with a puff. He quickly turned away and busied himself at his desk. Liam's face was a mask of awkwardness, his smile frozen in place. Mom has been through this. There are some things I have to warn you about. Ignoring the audience, Catherine spoke with grave importance. Being pregnant means a different diet, and I'll have the chef prepare your meals separately. But diet is one thing. Physical activity is another entirely. She sat down next to Cassandra. Liam was so embarrassed his toes were curling inside his shoes. He tried to shift back, to stand up, but he was still in the wheelchair, its support struts firmly on the ground. He was trapped. For once, Cassandra was looking down, her bangs hiding her eyes, but the cherry-red blush on her cheeks was unmistakable. Mom, what are you talking about? She mumbled. This is no joke. This is all from Mom's own experience. Catherine was dead serious. She took Cassandra's hand and patted it gently. When I was pregnant with you, your father was always trying his little tricks, and he almost caused a miscarriage. You two need to be even more careful. We can't have that happen. Hearing this, Liam shot a surprised glance at his father-in-law. You couldn't tell from his usual demeanor. Sure, he and Catherine were close and always respectful, but who knew they were so? Vigorous in private? Feeling Liam's gaze, Caleb cleared his throat awkwardly. Well, dear, I have some work to attend to. I'll just go make a call. Catherine didn't even look up, just gave a dismissive wave. Like a man escaping a fire, Caleb scrambled to his feet and hurried out of the room. Liam opened his mouth to ask Caleb to take him along, but his father-in-law was too fast. The study door slid shut before he could get a word out. Liam could only brace himself, feeling like he was sitting on a bed of nails. Especially the first 3 months. Mom knows you and Liam are close, and you like to be attached at the hip, but you don't have to rush things. Once this period is over, you can. Mom, stop it. Cassandra protested before Catherine could finish. She secretly pinched Liam's arm, her head buried so deep in the sofa cushions she practically disappeared. Liam winced with a soft hiss and quickly tried to change the subject. Aunt Catherine, we understand. You can rest assured. With Evelyn around, everything will be fine. We should probably let Cassandra get some rest now. Seeing Cassandra's head bowed, Catherine assumed she was tired. She nodded repeatedly, but as she stood up, she couldn't resist one last warning. Remember what Mom said? No funny business. The moment they were out of the study, Liam and Cassandra let out a simultaneous sigh of relief. They moved in perfect sync, their posture almost identical. Noticing the synchronicity, they looked at each other and burst out laughing. Cassandra huffed playfully. Why are you always copying me? Who's copying you? We did the same thing. I was about to say you're copying me. Liam retorted, not willing to back down. Cassandra bit her lip and threw a light punch at his arm. You're arguing with me again? Can you go one day without picking a fight? Caught off guard by her kitten-like swat, Liam rubbed his arm, feigning injury. That's arguing? I haven't even said the really mean stuff yet. Oh, Cassandra's voice dripped with sarcasm. Then please enlighten me. What are these really mean things? She tilted her head up, staring him down. Liam stewed for a moment, then glanced at her growing belly and huffed. Fine. I'm in a good mood today. I won't stoop to your level. Oh, please. You just can't win, so you're not stooping to my level. That last bit of snark was too much. Liam's face turned comically ferocious. Don't push it, or I'll have to teach you a lesson. Go on then, Cassandra chirped with a grin, even puffing out her stomach for emphasis. Let's see how you're going to teach me a lesson. She was using the baby as a human shield. Seeing her smug expression, Liam knew he was beaten. He took a deep breath to calm himself, but a cheerful voice cut in. You two really can't go anywhere without bickering, can you? On the nearby staircase, Riley Thorne, dressed in a fuzzy bunny-themed pajama set, came hopping down. Behind her were Chloe, Leo, and She. Seeing Liam and Cassandra, Carol's eyes immediately reddened. She rushed over, grabbing Liam's arm, her face filled with relief. Oh, Liam, that's wonderful. You scared me to death. Yeah, brother Liam. When the news broke, we were going crazy. Chloe pouted. Leo nodded beside her. That wasn't cool, man. We've known each other this long. You could have given us a heads up so we could be prepared. Aunt Carol and Chloe were beside themselves. Liam scratched his head with a sheepish grin. It wasn't that I was trying to hide it from you. The performance is just more convincing that way, right? You had us on edge for a whole day. I don't care. Brother, you and my sister-in-law have to make it up to us, or this isn't over. Chloe's eyes darted around as she began her shakedown. Riley immediately jumped in. Yes. Brother-in-law, you and my sister made us all so worried. You definitely have to compensate us. Otherwise, we won't forgive you. Knowing that Carol was there and Cassandra couldn't lose her temper, Riley was pushing her luck. Exchanging a look with Cassandra, Liam chuckled. All right, what kind of compensation did you have in mind? Chloe tapped her chin with her index finger, thinking hard, but she couldn't come up with anything. Seeing her stumped, Riley leaped forward with a grand declaration. I want to travel. Sister, brother-in-law, you have to take me traveling. We'll go all over the world. A global tour. At the end of the day, all Riley ever thought about was having fun. But a global tour. Hearing that, Chloe's eyes lit up. Yes. A global tour. All of us will go. And Grandpa and Grandma, too. We weren't all together before, but now we are. We'll take them with us and all go on a trip together. Taking them on a trip wasn't the issue, but Liam looked at Carol. Would you want to go too? Whatever you all decide is fine. As long as I'm with you, it doesn't matter where we go, Carol said with a warm smile. Her husband was gone, but both her children were by her side, each more successful than the last. Her only wish now was to enjoy her retirement with her kids. That, and for Liam to finally call her mom. But that was just a matter of time. Liam nodded. Seeing Cassandra's indifferent expression, he grinned. All right, I promise. Yay, brother-in-law is the best. Nice. Brother, you're my hero. With Liam's approval, Riley and Chloe started jumping up and down, dancing with excitement. Liam cleared his throat, his expression turning serious. A global tour is fine, but not right now. We have to wait until after Cassandra has the baby. The Thorne family had the resources to ensure their privacy anywhere in the world, but travel still meant getting on a plane, especially for a global tour. Cassandra's belly was only going to get bigger. Hopping on and off planes all day was out of the question. Carol supported his decision. Liam's right. You could travel all you want, but you have to wait a few months. At the very least, until after Cassandra's postpartum recovery. Hearing this, the recently ecstatic Chloe and Riley's faces fell. Liam added, And based on the due date, Chloe and Leo will be on break from school then anyway. It makes more sense to go then. Yeah, Chloe, he's got a point. Leo chimed in, nodding. They had taken time off, but with everything that had happened, their studies had fallen behind. Unlike Liam, neither he nor Chloe were academic geniuses. They had a lot of catching up to do. Chloe's face drooped, her earlier excitement gone. Fine, I get it, she mumbled. Leo and I will go back to school. Well, if you're all busy, I'll be in charge of planning the itinerary. Riley volunteered. I'll handle the logistics and make sure our schedule is packed. Riley had been instrumental in the performance after their fake deaths, and Cassandra's opinion of her had softened considerably. She pushed Liam's wheelchair forward and said coolly, "You're in charge. We're going to rest." "Hooray. Don't worry, sis. I'll plan the most amazing trip for everyone." Riley beamed. "Let me out. I am the Princess Royal. You have no right to lock me in here without my father's orders." Inside, holding cell 3, Natalie screamed at the door. But the cell was state-of-the-art, lined with a thick layer of sound-dampening foam to prevent any communication between prisoners. The walls, chairs, and even the table were made of foam. Every precaution had been taken to prevent self-harm. Natalie's voice was completely absorbed by the room. "Your Majesty." At the elevator entrance, Lord Charles appeared in plain clothes, with Princess Anna behind him. As they walked down the corridor, the guards turned and bowed. Charles's face was a stony mask. Behind him, Anna sighed and gestured to a guard. "Open the door to cell 3. "Yes, ma'am." As the door slid open, the sight of Natalie in restraints greeted them. "Father, you're finally here to save me," Natalie cried out as soon as she saw them. "These people are insane. I was about to go to bed, and they just burst in and took Ethan. Tell them to let me go." But Charles walked in briskly, his lips pressed into a thin, grim line. Anna followed, giving the guards at the door a look. They immediately understood and cleared the corridor. Soon, only the three of them remained in the large room. Natalie, oblivious, was still frantically trying to explain herself. "Father, there must be spies in the family. Our security has probably been compromised." "Natalie," Charles roared, his voice thick with disappointment. Anna took a deep breath. "Sister," she began, her voice strained. "Do you still not understand what's happened?" "What's happened?" "I was getting ready for bed. Who knows what they're up to?" Natalie's eyes flickered as she tried to change the subject. Seeing her still playing dumb, even at death's door, Charles's anger boiled over. "You incited your son to murder Liam and Cassandra. The evidence is irrefutable, and you don't know why you're here." The roar stunned Natalie into silence. She stared at her father, the reality finally dawning on her. Her plot had been exposed. "So, she said, a strange, horrifying laugh bubbling up from her chest. Instead of being angry, she tilted her chin up, a veneer of regal arrogance returning. "And what if you do? Those two are dead. As long as they're dead, their fortune will eventually belong to me and my son. Father, I am your daughter, and Ethan is your grandson. That bastard is gone. Your little fantasy is over. What are you going to do? Punish me?" They were all family, after all. The hand was dead. Losing the foot as well would be a devastating blow. Banking on this, Natalie grew even more brazen. Anna stared at the sister she had grown up with, her face a picture of disbelief. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she would never have believed her own sister could be so twisted. Seeing her father was so angry he could barely breathe, Anna quickly patted his back. "Sister, you're insane. Regardless of who Liam was, we are all father's children. How would he not care for us? Besides," she added, the words hitting like a physical blow, "Liam isn't dead. He's alive and well." "What?" Natalie froze, her eyes wide with manic disbelief as she stared at Anna. Charles, having finally caught his breath, spoke, his expression a complex mix of emotions. "You were played. Liam and Cassandra knew about your plan from the start." "Knew? From the start?" Natalie forced the words out, looking from her father to her sister in utter shock. "That's impossible. How could they have known? How is that possible?" "Sister, you really are." Anna didn't know what to say. She opened her mouth, but the words wouldn't come. The woman before her was her sister, but Liam represented her father. Her feelings were a tangled mess. She felt a shred of pity watching her sister devolve into this madness. Even if you're going to assassinate someone, you should at least hire competent people. But her sister had been stupid enough to involve her own son and Jessica Fawn. The plan was doomed from the start. But no matter who she hired, the act itself was wrong. It was wrong from the very beginning. It was Ethan. Natalie's eyes widened in sudden realization. She glared at Anna, her voice sharp. "Did that boy say something?" Dad, Ethan is your grandson. How could you torture him for a confession? She was clearly delusional, babbling nonsense. Charles felt a wave of dizziness, nearly fainting from rage. Anna gritted her teeth. Sister, of all the people to involve, you chose Jessica Fong? Don't you know she's Liam's ex-girlfriend? Their relationship is a tangled mess. Anna, Charles snapped, his voice sharp as a whip. You and I have both read Liam's file. I will not have you spreading rumors here. Anna immediately fell silent. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this, Natalie burst into wild laughter, tears streaming down her face. Her expression was one of pure mockery. Father, even now, you're still protecting him. All these years, our relationship meant nothing to you, did it? Ethan and I, we're just a joke to you. Even now, with everything falling apart, her own father was still defending him. Natalie's refined demeanor completely shattered. Are you proud of what you've done to my dead mother? She shrieked. If she knew what you've done from her place in heaven, she'd be driven mad with rage. Sister, Anna's face went pale. She couldn't believe the words coming out of her sister's mouth. The next second, a sharp slap echoed through the room. Natalie's head snapped to the side, a bright red handprint blooming on her pale, rage-contorted face. You, shut your mouth. Charles was so angry his words were trembling. He stared at the daughter, who was still spewing poison. If it weren't for you, would Ethan have the stain of attempted murder on his name at such a young age? If it weren't for you, would I have had to go begging the thorns just to spare your lives? If it weren't for you, would our family name be dragged through the mud like this? His thunderous voice filled the room. Natalie stared back, her eyes wide and defiant. Charles coughed violently. From the time you were a child, I wanted you to learn how to manage the family, but you refused. Now your sister is the heir apparent. I admit I doted on Liam, but I knew you were my daughter, and Ethan was my grandson. No matter who succeeded me, you and Ethan would always have your share, but you were never satisfied. Anna rubbed her father's back, then said, Sister, you are truly foolish. Leaving aside Liam's character, which I have seen for myself, even if father doted on him, it was only the joy of having a lost son returned. How could that last? Besides, Liam has foreign blood. How could father ever let him inherit the throne? Everything else was secondary. That last sentence was the killing blow. Not only was Liam found as an adult, but even if he had been raised in the palace, he had a quart of foreign blood. The British throne could never pass to him. And more importantly, Liam had no desire to change his citizenship. Cough, cough, cough. Charles coughed again, the confrontation aging him decades. The confident, energetic man was gone. Natalie's eyes widened in shock as she stared at Anna, a flicker of reason returning. Her face was a mask of disbelief. That's right. Foreign blood. How had she overlooked that? More importantly, her own husband was American, which meant her son, Ethan, also had dual heritage. So, what had she been fighting for all this time? Was it just for spite? And for that spite, had she just destroyed her own future and Ethan's? The room fell into a deathly silence. Anna patted her father's back, watching her sister's vacant expression, and finally let out a quiet sigh. The next moment, with a soft thud, Natalie dropped to her knees. She looked up at Charles, her face a mask of panic and pleading. Father, I was wrong, she sobbed. I know I was wrong. I'll get along with Liam from now on, I swear. Ethan, he's about the same age as Liam. They could be good friends. Father, you have to save me. Ethan is your grandson. This was all my fault. Her sudden change of heart seemed to slightly soften Charles's expression. But what was the use of saying this now? The outcome was already set. Looking at his disappointing daughter, all he could manage was a heavy sigh. Anna took a deep breath. Sister, you were in the wrong. You have to admit your mistake. There's no turning back. Father has already made an arrangement with the Thorne family. Your case will be handled publicly and justly. That single sentence was a death sentence. Publicly and justly. Natalie's eyes widened in disbelief. I'm a daughter of the royal family. I'm a princess royal. If this goes public, it will damage the family's reputation. And besides, you said Liam and the others weren't even hurt. Sister, enough. Charles's sharp command cut Anna off. He pressed his hand to his forehead, his brow deeply furrowed. Natalie, if you hadn't incited your son, would any of this have happened? You have some nerve. Not only did you try to assassinate Liam, but you went after the Thorne family's daughter. Do you have any idea what kind of disaster it would be if the Thornes turn against us? And you have the audacity to say these things to me now? I truly wasted my efforts raising you. He had only come to see his daughter before her fate was sealed, and she had nearly made him faint with a few choice words. All the kindness was gone from his voice. It was now hard as steel. Natalie swallowed, her eyes vacant. Anna took another deep breath and said slowly, "Sister, don't be afraid. The best thing is that Liam and Cassandra are alive. I've looked at the statutes. It's 20 years at most. After 20 years. 20 years, Natalie whispered, her expression dazed and wooden. Then, a cold laugh escaped her lips. 20 years. Easy for you to say. How many 20 years do I have in my life? Then why did you plot a murder? Why did you have to resort to such twisted schemes?" Anna couldn't take it anymore, her own voice hardening. But Natalie shot back, her tone righteous. "Me, a murderer? My dear sister, do you think I don't know about the filthy things you do in private? You keep all those lovers on the side and claim you'll never marry. You think you're any better?" Anna was stunned that the attack had turned on her. "Sister, how can you say that? Those are just rumors. We're family. How can you not trust me? Family? Now you remember we're family? Funny how, when I'm in trouble, no one has my back, but when you're doing your dirty deeds, someone is always there to clean up your mess." Since all pretenses were gone, and Natalie could see her father had no intention of protecting her, her words grew even fouler. "Sister, what nonsense are you talking? Enough." Seeing them about to fight again, Charles roared. He looked at Natalie, who now resembled a common shrew, and shut his eyes tightly. When he opened them again, his face was cold and severe. "You can stay here and repent for your sins. Anna, let's go." "Yes, father." "Don't go. Why don't you let me finish? And you, father, you think you're so clean? You think I don't know how you clawed your way to the top? BM. The sound of the heavy door slamming shut cut Natalie's voice off mid-sentence. The corridor was silent. Charles leaned against the wall, shaking his head slowly. "How did I raise such a daughter? Dad, it's not your fault. It's sister. She was too greedy." Anna sighed, taking his arm. Anyone who lived in this world, especially in a family of their stature, knew that no one's hands were truly clean. Everyone had clawed their way up through blood and sacrifice. If this had been about anyone else, Charles might have covered it up for the sake of the family's reputation, just as he'd considered at the beginning. But this was about Liam and Cassandra. One was his own flesh and blood, lost for so many years. The other was the scion of one of America's most powerful families. Both were like vital organs to him. To lose either one would be fatal. Seeing her father staring blankly at the floor, Anna spoke softly. "Dad, are we still going to see Ethan?" "You go see him." "I'm tired," Charles sighed. The confrontation had drained him of most of his strength. He felt completely depleted. Anna nodded, her grip firm. "Then let me walk you out, Dad." "No need. Let the guards help me. You should go. I imagine Ethan has a lot of questions for you." Charles waved his hand, signaling a nearby guard. The guard immediately understood and stepped forward to support him. The two of them walked towards the elevator at the end of the corridor. Anna let out a long sigh as their figures disappeared. Then she turned and walked to the adjacent holding cell 5. The door slid open. Ethan Vance was sitting calmly on the edge of the bed. When he saw Anna, he quickly stood up, the iron chains on his limbs rattling. "And Anna, what's going on? Why did those men take me and my mother?" Compared to Natalie's hysterics, Ethan was at least rational. But as the one who signed a contract with Jessica Fong, his crime was far more serious than his mother's. 20 years would be a light sentence. He was likely looking at much more. Anna sighed and told him bluntly, "Your plot to assassinate Liam has been discovered, along with the contract you signed with Jessica Fong." "Discovered?" Ethan froze, his eyes widening. "How was that possible?" "After the banquet, Jessica Fong was staying at our residence the whole time. She never left. How could this have been discovered?" It was a confession without prompting. But with the evidence already in hand, his admission was redundant. Anna looked at him with profound disappointment. "You are so foolish. To think you would team up with a woman like that. She has no experience in the real world, and you dared to give her a sniper rifle." When Anna first heard the details of the plot from the interrogators, she couldn't believe it. Once the evidence was confirmed, she had wanted to laugh. Who gave Ethan the courage to let a sheltered, naive girl try to assassinate someone? This was why heirs to the throne were chosen at an older age. Ethan had been coddled his whole life, acting on whatever whim crossed his mind. For once, Ethan seemed to understand that Anna was scolding him. Mistakenly thinking his aunt was on his side, he tried to explain. "No, Aunt Anna, that wasn't our original plan. I only wanted Jessica Fong to take the fall with that contract. We had it all planned out, including the bomb." There was no need for an interrogation. Ethan was spilling everything. Anna's expression was complicated. In that moment, she finally understood why her father was so fond of Liam. Liam was never flustered, no matter the situation. His emotional intelligence was off the charts. He always knew what he wanted. In contrast, Ethan seemed like a child who had never grown up. He'd seen the world, but always from a position of privilege. His plans were nothing more than theories on paper. If it were her, she would also favor Liam. The difference was night and day. But Ethan was facing decades in prison. In this situation, Anna didn't want to be too harsh. The things you and your mother did, the evidence is conclusive. Ethan, father has decided to handle this matter publicly and justly. But don't worry, I'll make arrangements for you in prison. At the very least, you'll have a private cell. The rest is up to you. With that, Anna's duty was done. She couldn't bear to see the shock, panic, and pleading on Ethan's face. The moment the words left her mouth, she turned and left. As the heavy door sealed shut, Ethan stared at it, his eyes wide with disbelief. The white foam walls seemed to press in on him. His legs gave out, and he crumpled to his knees in terror. Is everything finalized with the court? Lying in Liam's arms, Cassandra murmured the question with her eyes closed. The legal process is complicated. It'll probably take a few months to sort everything out, Liam answered, his voice a bit distracted as he idly stroked the ends of her hair. It was another afternoon. Soft sunlight streamed through the window. Winter was approaching, and the fireplace in the house had already been prepared. Cassandra was draped in a soft pink blanket, curled up on Liam's lap, her long black hair cascading down like a waterfall. She looked like a contented cat. Oh, she responded lazily, wriggling deeper into his embrace. Don't move around so much, or you might start a fire, Liam warned, giving his leg a little nudge for emphasis. Cassandra huffed, clearly annoyed. Being pregnant is so much trouble. I can't do this, I can't do that. Liam was torn between laughter and exasperation. What else do you want to do, my little queen? You know what I mean, she shot back, turning her head away with a pout. The scene was so warm and peaceful that Evelyn Reed, bursting into the room, instinctively covered her eyes. I didn't see anything. At some point, Evelyn had become much more talkative and relaxed around them. Though their stations were different, they had known each other for years and were old friends. Cassandra, sharp-tongued as ever, retorted. Evelyn, who gave you permission to enter without knocking? Be careful, or I'll gouge your eyes out. Oh, for heaven's sake, Evelyn exclaimed, quickly bowing her head in submission. Miss, you were the one who told me to remind you it was time for dinner. You can punish me later, but you're carrying a baby now. You can't be saying such violent things. Liam raised an eyebrow. He'd overlooked just how eloquent Evelyn had become. But her words clearly had the desired effect on Cassandra. She snorted, then propped herself up and sat lazily. Seeing she'd escaped punishment, Evelyn let out a sigh of relief. Anyway, Mr. Thorne said he needs to see you. He's looking for me? Liam was surprised. Yes. Evelyn nodded, her expression turning serious. He didn't seem very happy. It looks like it might be something important. She added the last part out of genuine concern for Liam. The moment she said it, Cassandra's interest was piqued. Why is Dad looking for Liam? We're about to eat. But Mr. Thorne, no buts. Tell him I said so. I need Liam to eat with me. Cassandra's command cut off any further argument. In this house, Cassandra was undoubtedly the boss. Evelyn nodded quickly and scurried out. Liam sighed, testing the waters. Your dad wouldn't call for me for no reason. It might really be urgent. Maybe I should go see what's up. No, Cassandra said, grabbing his arm with unyielding firmness. You're eating with me. Dad can solve his own problems. He's much more capable than I am, anyway. Liam took a deep breath. The wife's word was law. He nodded quickly. All right, then I won't go. Come on, I'll eat with you. Good. 2 months passed in a blur. In that time, Riley and Chloe had become inseparable. Every day after school, Chloe would rush upstairs, and the two would hide in Riley's room, whispering secrets like true sisters. Leo's rigorous training paid off. He lost 30 pounds and looked like a completely new person. Liam hadn't been idle either. With Dr. Iden's help, he'd started physical therapy, and his leg was now almost fully recovered. Since Caleb was busy managing the company and flying back and forth between countries, Catherine and Carol Xia had become best friends. After learning Cassandra was pregnant, they'd even started making baby clothes by hand. Carol had a knack for knitting and, with the help of online videos, quickly got the hang of it. But Catherine, accustomed to a life of luxury, struggled with the needle. In just 2 months, her fingers were covered in bandages from all the pricks, much to Caleb's distress. Cassandra had tried to persuade her to stop, but Catherine was stubborn and only redoubled her efforts. Meanwhile, Evelyn and Dr. Aiden had somehow confirmed their relationship. Outside of work, they were always together, their dynamic a little less fiery and impulsive than Liam and Cassandra's had been. Ouch! In the living room, Catherine cried out while attempting her needlework. Beside her, Carol didn't even look up, Pricked yourself again? This is so frustrating. This stupid thing. I'm telling you, they don't charge enough for embroidery out there. They should sell it for more. Catherine grumbled, tossing her needle and thread aside. She expertly grabbed some gauze and styptic powder for her finger. Ma'am, maybe you should take a break? 9 of your 10 fingers are already bandaged. At this rate, you won't be able to pick anything up, Evelyn said with a frown as she hurried over to help. Though her words were meant to be caring, to Catherine, they sounded like a subtle jab. My, Evelyn, you've really grown up. You even know how to show concern now, she shot back, deliberately glancing over at Dr. Aiden. The glance meant nothing to anyone else, but Evelyn's face immediately turned red. Ma'am, what are you talking about? She mumbled, lowering her head. With her years of experience, Catherine could read her like a book. She raised an eyebrow, looking from Aiden to Evelyn with a mischievous smile. What do you mean? What am I talking about? You've been by Cassandra's side since you were little. You're practically best friends. I'm not worried about Cassandra anymore, but isn't it about time you? She grinned wickedly. Evelyn's face turned an even deeper shade of red. Beside her, Dr. Aiden was still seriously reviewing Liam's recovery notes. Crash. In her flustered state, Evelyn knocked a cup off the table, and it shattered on the floor. Whoosh. Haley Lou, who had been dozing at a nearby table, shot up, still half asleep, and yelled, Earth. Earthquake. Puffed. Haha, Carol, look at this kid. That's hilarious. You must have been dreaming. Catherine burst out laughing, grabbing Carol's arm to share in the amusement. Haley, a bit dazed, scratched her head. Seeing the peaceful scene in the living room, she realized her mistake, gave an apologetic smile, and sat back down. Once the laughter died down, Carol noticed Evelyn's flushed face. Feeling playful, she joined in. Mrs. Thorne is right, Evelyn. You're not getting any younger. You've been with Cassandra for so long. It's about time you found a nice young man for yourself. Being singled out in front of everyone was mortifying. Evelyn deeply regretted her earlier comment. Why did she have to be so meddlesome? Seeing that Catherine was about to start matchmaking on the spot, Evelyn's eyes darted around, and she quickly changed the subject. Ladies, it's time for Miss Thorne's prenatal checkup. Shall I make the arrangements? Cassandra was due for her monthly checkup. Right now, the baby's arrival was the most important thing on everyone's mind. Catherine lost her teasing mood and nodded repeatedly. Yes, good idea. Let's schedule it for tomorrow. We can't delay this. She's right. The baby is the priority. Tomorrow, in Dr. Aiden will go with them. She needs a full examination, Carol added. As mothers themselves, they both knew the risks of pregnancy. Yes, ma'am. Evelyn breathed a sigh of relief and quickly made her escape. The next morning, Haley and Evelyn drove 2 cars to the exclusive hospital, arriving with the first wave of patients. They had called ahead, so they went straight to the examination room. After waving to Cassandra at the door, Liam waited on a bench outside. Before long, Cassandra came out and moved on to the next test. Liam followed faithfully behind. By noon, the full checkup was nearly complete. When Evelyn got the report, she paused, staring at the prenatal scan. She quickly poked Dr. Aiden's arm. Seeing their serious expressions, Liam's heart lurched. Is something wrong? He asked quickly. Evelyn didn't answer, instead glancing at Aiden. Aiden, is this it? Aiden squinted at the report for a long time before nodding. It seems so. This should confirm it. Really? Evelyn's eyes lit up. Yes, that's right. It's confirmed. Absolutely, Aiden said, a smile spreading across his face. Seeing him smile, Liam's anxiety lessened, but what are you two talking about? What's confirmed? Spit it out. He felt like he was watching 2 top surgeons discussing his fate. No one was more anxious than he was at that moment. Not even Cassandra. Aiden handed the report to Evelyn. Evelyn, you tell them. Liam and Cassandra looked over, their faces a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. Evelyn blushed, clutching the report. She looked at them and announced, Mr. Lynn, you're having a baby. No, duh. Cassandra snapped before Liam could respond. Liam, however, looked at Evelyn with anticipation, a guess already forming in his mind as to why she was smiling. Evelyn's voice rang out again. You're having to. Silence. Cassandra froze, her mind struggling to process the news. She was having 2. Though he'd had an inkling, Liam was equally thrilled. 2 babies. He was going to have 2 children. Wait, were he and Cassandra really that potent? I knew my stomach was getting bigger lately, Cassandra murmured, her hand resting on her belly, stroking it gently. Aunt Carol kept telling me it was just because I'm so slim, so it looked bigger. So this is the reason. Hearing her, Liam came back to his senses. He looked at Cassandra's already prominent belly and frowned. Evelyn, What do we need to know about a twin pregnancy? Will her stomach get very big? Do we need to get a wheelchair for her? Evelyn was touched that Liam's first thought was for Cassandra. Her good opinion of him went up another notch. A wheelchair might be a good idea to have on hand, but Miss Thorne should still walk and get some light exercise. Right? Evelyn and I will create a list when we get back. It will outline all the precautions. You don't need to worry, mister. Lynn, Aiden reassured him. That's good, that's good. With 2 doctors by their side, Liam finally relaxed. Seeing him so concerned for her, Cassandra's heart swelled with happiness. She stuck out her belly and said sweetly, "Well, what are you waiting for? Come over here and support me." The words were bossy, but they were laced with a playful, coquettish tone. With 2 babies on the way, how could Liam refuse? He nodded eagerly, scurried around behind Cassandra, and placed his hands on her waist for support. In the car, Liam placed a cushion behind Cassandra's back. She leaned against his shoulder, stroking her belly. "Liam," she said with a smile, "do you think they'll both be boys or both be girls?" "How would I know? I can't see the future," he laughed. To him, it didn't matter. Boy or girl, they were his and Cassandra's babies. "Humph," Cassandra snorted, her gaze falling on Evelyn in the driver's seat. "Evelyn, can we find out the gender now?" "We have to do an amniocentesis," Evelyn replied quickly. "Miss, it's still too early to tell from an ultrasound." "I see." Cassandra's mood deflated slightly. "It's okay." Liam quickly comforted her. "Think of it as opening a mystery box. Whether they're boys or girls, they're our babies." But Cassandra playfully punched him in the chest. "That's not what I'm worried about," she said fiercely. "I'm worried that if they're both girls, they'll monopolize all your time, and I won't have any time to play with you." Hearing this, Liam burst out laughing. "Hey, Cassandra, that's a bit sexist, isn't it? By that logic, if they're both boys, won't they just be clinging to you?" Cassandra huffed, turning her head to gaze out the window at the passing scenery, a shadow of melancholy touching her features. Noticing her mood shift, Liam's voice softened. "What's wrong? I'm getting a little tired of the food here," she said, her brow furrowed. "Tired of it?" Liam's eyes widened. "I can have a chef switch things up tonight. It'll be the same, even if he does. It's always the same few things, over and over," she pouted, her round face full of discontent as she stroked her belly. "Well, I could ask Uncle Caleb to have some things flown in," Liam suggested, seriously trying to find a solution. But Cassandra still shook her head. Seeing this, Liam's brow arched. He was starting to understand. "Cassandra, do you feel uncomfortable living here?" His words hit the nail on the head. A light returned to Cassandra's eyes, and she nodded, her face a mask of misery. "Yes. I don't know why, but I feel so cooped up and restless. I want to go out, but I'm not familiar with the area. It's so frustrating." It was a scientific fact that pregnancy could cause sudden mood swings. Since it couldn't be solved, it had to be managed. Liam stroked his chin, a thought dawning on him. Maybe it's because this isn't the place where you grew up. He murmured, a plan already forming. "I can take my classes online from anywhere. How about we go back to the States for a while? Maria is there, and it's a more familiar environment." "No." To his surprise, Cassandra refused without a second thought. "I don't want to go back to Black Lake Manor. Being there just reminds me of everything I did to you. I feel so guilty." The past was a nightmare. Without new, happy memories to overwrite the old ones in that same location, it was impossible to escape the shadows. Black Lake Manor held the most painful parts of their history. The villa was saturated with their old scars. Liam knew it was crucial to keep Cassandra's emotions stable, especially with twins on the way. She needed a peaceful environment to rest. A sweet place. An idea flashed in his mind. "Then how about Maplewood Manor?" he asked, his voice full of excitement. It was the estate she had given him, a place that marked a turning point in their relationship, a place with a hint of sweetness. Cassandra looked as if she'd just remembered its existence. Her eyes lit up. "That's a great idea. We haven't even stayed there since it was finished. And it has all the amenities." Seeing her so happy and talkative was a rare treat. Liam grinned. "All right, it's settled. We'll talk to the others when we get back. Chloe and Leo probably won't be able to come." Cassandra nodded. And just like that, it was decided. Chloe and Leo had school, so they would stay behind. Carol and Catherine, however, were fixated on Cassandra's pregnancy and would follow her anywhere. Maplewood Manor was just as grand as the Stanton estate, and even more convenient in some ways. Evelyn and Haley would both go. Dr. Aiden, on his first trip to America, was a little nervous but mostly excited. Riley and Paige decided to stay in the UK. After becoming close with Chloe, Riley refused to leave. As she put it, "Why would I follow my sister and brother-in-law? Chloe and I are having a great time here." With Catherine returning to the States, Caleb breathed a sigh of relief. He no longer had to fly back and forth to see his wife. And so, the whole group returned to Maplewood Manor. Aside from Cassandra, Evelyn, and Liam, it was everyone's first time there. As the cars pulled up to the gates, and they saw the large sign reading Maplewood Manor, Catherine's smile stretched from ear to ear. She really takes after her father. The diamond your dad gave me was so big, I almost thought it was fake. Carol was equally stunned, but her thoughts drifted to Liam. To have such a wealthy and domineering daughter-in-law, her son's future. Her gaze shifted to Liam and Cassandra. She saw them leaning against each other, Cassandra with her large belly, clinging to Liam's arm like a delicate bird, while Liam smiled down at her. They looked like a couple deep in the throes of first love, practically radiating pink bubbles. What was there to worry about? They were so happy. She should be happy for them. Carol, what are you staring at? Let's go inside. I think Cassandra even had an amusement park built over there. Catherine excitedly grabbed Carol's arm and pulled her towards the manor. In a corner of the estate, there was indeed a grand amusement park, built to standard specifications. But it hadn't been used in a while, and a layer of dust covered the rides. Let's have them clean it up before we use it, Liam called out with a smile. The older generation, seeing the things their children loved, were suddenly rooted to the spot, insistent on riding the Ferris wheel to satisfy their curiosity. I'm hungry. Cassandra tugged on Liam's arm, pouting. Liam nodded. Let's go inside then. What do you want to eat? I can have the staff make it, or I can cook. Cassandra tilted her head, thinking for a long moment before two words popped out. Hot pot. Hot pot. Liam was taken aback, staring at her in surprise. If anyone else had said it, it would have been normal. But Cassandra had always been very particular about her diet. He couldn't remember her ever liking high-calorie, oily foods. I don't know why, but I'm really craving hot pot right now. My mouth feels tasteless, and I want something flavorful, Cassandra said, frowning as she rubbed her belly. Well, how about a clear broth? Or a tomato-based one? Liam asked. I want the super spicy kind. I want something really, really spicy, she replied without hesitation, her eyes sparkling. Really spicy. Liam's gaze drifted down to her belly. An old wives' tale says you crave spicy for a girl, Cassandra. You think we might be having 2 daughters? That's just superstition, she retorted playfully, giving him a little shove. Hurry up, go get it ready. I want hot pot. Her temper had softened, and her petulance had a sweet, coquettish flavor that made Liam's heart itch. All right, I'll go get it. We'll do 2 flavors then, a split pot. He headed into the villa. He didn't really need to cook himself. The villa employed plenty of staff. For this one meal, 5 or 6 servants were bustling around the kitchen. There were all kinds of mushrooms, tripe, greens, hot pot balls, boneless duck feet, shrimp paste, sliced kidneys, all the classic ingredients. The most important, of course, were the air-flown lamb rolls and tender beef. With a professional chef in charge, Liam didn't have to worry much. He just patrolled the kitchen like the man of the house. To satisfy Cassandra's craving, the broth was beef-based, and 1/2 of the split pot was loaded with 3 entire bags of spicy hot pot base. The moment the hot water was added, a fragrant aroma filled the air. Are we having hot pot today? Catherine, just walking in, was hit by the rich, beefy scent. Her eyes lit up. It smells wonderful, Carol added with a smile. Cassandra said she was craving it, Liam said, directing the servants as he smiled at the 2 mothers. Yes, Catherine couldn't help but lick her lips. The aroma was so strong it awakened her own cravings. I haven't had this stuff in years. Looks like I'm in for a treat today. Years. Carol was surprised. Surely the Thorne family could afford a simple hot pot meal. Sensing her confusion, Catherine explained with a laugh, I've been trying to lose weight these past few years, so I've been eating pretty light. After a while, I stopped thinking about rich foods. But this smell, it's really woken up my inner foodie. I see. Carol sympathized deeply. No matter when, managing one's figure was a constant battle. She herself had lost a lot of weight over the years due to her illness and simple diet. After eating well at the Stanton estate for a few days, she'd gained 10 pounds and looked much healthier. But if she kept eating like this, she'd turn into a butterball. She had come here with the intention of managing her diet, but the first meal was this fragrant hot pot. Her own cravings were kicking in. But looking up and seeing everyone so happy, Carol didn't want to be a spoilsport. She rolled up her sleeves with a smile. All right, I'm not dieting today, either. The food was quickly laid out on the table. After the long flight, Cassandra was starving. The fragrant steam rising from the pot made her stare at the bubbling broth like a little hungry cat. The sight made Liam want to run out and chop more wood for the fire. Cassandra, do you want a garlic dipping sauce or a sesame paste one? Liam asked, picking up a small bowl. Either is fine. You can make both. Okay. As the red, oily broth began to bubble, Liam picked up the public chopsticks and dropped in a few slices of tender beef. Seeing this, Cassandra grew impatient. Just put it all in. A few slices isn't even enough for a snack. She really was hungry. This cooks in a second, Liam said quickly. It'll be ready soon. If you put too much in at once, the texture won't be as good. I don't care, put more in. This little bit isn't enough to eat. I've been starving all day. Cassandra grumbled. If she'd had chopsticks in her hand, Liam was sure she would have staged a protest. Then let's put in some of the things that take longer to cook, like potatoes, Carol suggested with a smile. Catherine remained silent, her eyes fixed on the clear broth side of the pot. Though she also loved spicy food, with both sides cooking, the spicy half was reserved for Cassandra first. She could eat after Cassandra was full. Fine, Liam chuckled helplessly. He watched the beef cook, then scooped it out onto Cassandra's plate one piece at a time before quickly grabbing another plate and continuing to drop ingredients into the pot. As the food cooked, Cassandra's mouth was busy. The first bite exploded on her taste buds. The fragrant, tender beef combined with the dipping sauce. Nothing could be better. She closed her eyes in bliss, her face a picture of pure happiness. It was November in the country, and the weather was turning cool. The villa's heating wasn't on yet, but gathered around the bubbling hot pot. The steam filled the dining room with a fragrant warmth. With his pregnant wife by his side and his mother and mother-in-law across from him, Liam had never felt happiness so close. He had never imagined he would experience such a scene. In that moment, the word happiness needed no further explanation. Back at the royal residence in the UK, Natalie's interrogation was ongoing, the case slowly making its way through the legal system. The news that the Princess Royal had tried to assassinate a royal guest named Liam Lynn had already caught fire in the UK before it even reached the American media. Wall-to-wall coverage and media reports were dissecting the story, trying to figure out who this unknown Liam Lynn was. Many business tycoons had been royal guests, but none had ever managed to drag the Princess Royal down with them. Overnight, the name Liam Lynn became famous throughout the UK. The news was also a hot topic at the university Liam attended. Many international students took notice. Even if you were an adult returning to school, you were still expected to act like a student. Not only had Liam rarely shown up for class, but he had now transformed into a guest of the royal family. It left a sour taste in many students' mouths. Must be nice to be rich. You could just enroll in a school and not even attend. Rich? You think everyone studying abroad isn't rich? This guy is a guest of the royal family. He's not in our league. I've barely seen him here. The professor talks a big game about freedom, but he's let Liam be a little too free. Exactly. Some of the more bitter students started leaving comments online. Chloe, having just returned to the Stanton estate after class, immediately ran to Riley's room. Riley, it's all over the internet. The international students are all talking about my brother. The things they're saying, they're really targeting him. Have you seen the comments? Riley, deep in a video game, was startled. She took off her headphones and looked towards the door. You mean those comments online about my brother-in-law? Yes. It's the talk of the school, and they're saying really nasty things. If Leo hadn't stopped me today, I would have gotten into a fight with them. Chloe stormed in, swinging her fists in anger. Seeing this, Riley remained calm. She unwrapped a lollipop and stuck in her mouth, her tone nonchalant. I'll let them talk. It's their mouths. My brother-in-law and my sister are in America now. What are they going to do besides talk, fly over there and kill him? Chloe's eyes widened in disbelief. Seeing Riley sucking a lollipop and starting another game, Chloe couldn't stand it anymore. She spun Riley's chair around and said angrily, Riley, have you seen how awful their comments are? It's all passive-aggressive garbage. I was furious just reading it for a minute. We have to do something to defend my brother. Unlike Riley, this was the first time Chloe had experienced something like this. With this kind of online harassment, and her sister-in-law pregnant, what if he saw these messages and got upset? An emotional swing could be dangerous. The game was about to start, and Riley was getting antsy. She pushed Chloe away. Hold on, let me finish this round, then we'll talk. Chloe stared, shocked by Riley's reaction. Riley, what are you doing? My brother is being... Just go sit on the sofa for a minute. I'll try to be quick. Riley didn't even look up, her eyes glued to the screen, her fingers already flying across the keyboard. Seeing this, Chloe sighed. Riley was so absorbed in her game, so she didn't say anything else. She tried to calm herself down and sat on the sofa. She drank cup after cup of water, feeling restless. She didn't dare open her phone, afraid of seeing more comments and getting upset all over again. But Riley seemed to be deliberately making her wait. She showed no signs of rushing, instead playing with relaxed confidence. A 10-minute game stretched into 30. When Riley finally let go of the keyboard and the results screen popped up, Chloe rushed over. "Riley, you're finally done. What do we do now? We have to help my brother." Riley raised an eyebrow, looking at Chloe. Seeing her flushed, angry face, Riley couldn't help but laugh. Huff. "Riley, what are you laughing at?" Chloe's eyes were wide with confusion. She was losing her mind with worry, and Riley was not only calm, but smiling. "What was that about?" Riley twirled the lollipop stick. "I'm laughing at you. Why are you in such a panic? I told you to sit down and rest. Hasn't your anger cooled down yet?" "How could it cool down? That's my brother. They're saying such horrible things about him. How can I not be angry?" Chloe shot her a look, feeling even more bewildered. Usually, Riley was the first to defend Liam. Why was she acting like a completely different person today, so calm while she was freaking out? Seeing her frantic state, Riley smiled. "Chloe, do you know what I used to do?" Chloe was taken aback. "What did you do? Haven't you always been at home?" She clearly wasn't getting it. Riley offered a helpful hint. "I'm at home now, yes. But I wasn't before. I was a girl group. I debuted overseas." Chloe was still confused. "So what if you debuted? What does that have to do with my brother being attacked online? What does it have to do with it?" Finding a rare moment of superiority, Riley grinned. "Chloe, do you know that whether you're in a girl group or an actor, as long as you're famous online, you're going to get hate from certain people? I've been dealing with it for so long. I'm used to it. And I bet my brother-in-law doesn't care about this at all." That was her point. It was why she hadn't gotten angry seeing all the negative comments about Liam. Chloe's eyes widened. "So we just let them keep talking?" It's their mouths, and with the internet being what it is, they're hiding behind a screen. Who knows what kind of person is typing those words? "If I got worked up over every single comment, I wouldn't be able to live my life," Riley said, rolling her eyes. "My brother-in-law told me before, never waste your time or energy on irrelevant people. I have my own things to do. They can say whatever they want." She was putting his lesson into practice. Riley still remembered what Liam had told her after that confrontation with Penelope Hamilton. To sacrifice your future for a bunch of nobodies was the height of stupidity. Chloe stood there, stunned. Her brain finally started working again. She looked at Riley, then at her phone, and suddenly felt that she had a point. For the past few days, ever since the news broke, she had been glued to her phone, even during class. She hadn't paid attention to her professors at all. She'd been angry for days, but everyone around her was acting normally. She didn't even know who was posting these comments. Thinking it over, she realized she had been wasting too much energy on these people, and had forgotten she had her own life to live. Seeing the look of dawning realization on Chloe's face, Riley's eyes twinkled. She didn't say anything more, just turned back and clicked to start another game. Finally understanding, Chloe leaned over and hugged the back of Riley's gaming chair. "Riley, it looks like I have a lot to learn from you. I never even thought of it that way. I was just so angry." Riley, her eyes fixed on the computer, her fingers flying, smiled. "It's my brother-in-law who's brilliant. I got angry once too, and he was right there. He's the one who talks sense into me. If anyone's amazing, it's him. Brother really is amazing. Well, I won't bother you anymore. I'm going to do my homework. I'll come find you later when I'm done," Chloe said, and ran out of the room. Ugh. Late at night, a sound of retching woke Liam from a deep sleep. He groggily opened his eyes and saw a curvy silhouette behind the frosted glass of the bathroom door, hunched over the toilet. Cassandra had morning sickness again. Sleep vanished instantly. Liam threw off the covers, hastily slipped on his slippers, and rushed into the bathroom. He knelt beside her, gently rubbing her back. "Why didn't you wake me? You're so sick," he said, his voice laced with self-reproach. Seeing her pale face and furrowed brows, his own heart ached. Cassandra collapsed onto the bathroom floor, waving a weak hand. "You were sleeping so soundly, I didn't want to wake you. Besides, it's just for a little while. No need to get you up." Looking at her miserable state, Liam's heart clenched. 1,000 words died on his lips. He pursed his lips, pulled a few tissues from the dispenser, and handed them to her. "I'll go boil some water for you." He was usually so laid back, he hadn't fully grasped how hard pregnancy was. Seeing Cassandra so sick now, he felt both sad and helpless, not knowing where to even begin to help. He went out to turn on the electric kettle, rinsed the cup, and rushed back into the bathroom, bringing a small stool with a cotton cushion on top. "Sit here for a bit. If you're really tired, you can lean on me. It's okay. I'll be here with you." Liam gently rubbed her back, helping her up and onto the stool. Cassandra was too sick to speak, only able to retch. Ugh. Another wave hit her. Liam wet a white towel with warm water and gently wiped her lips. To distract her, he changed the subject. "Christmas is in a few days, isn't it? Cassandra, Should we decorate the house? Is there anything you want as a gift? Hearing him, Cassandra's lips curved into a smile. What? If I want a gift, is Santa Claus going to deliver it to my door? She asked, a hint of her usual teasing tone returning. She took the towel and wiped her own face, then glanced at the ceiling. Besides, we don't have a chimney here. A glint appeared in Liam's eyes. Why don't you just tell me? How do you know there's no Santa Claus? At that, Cassandra raised an eyebrow, looking at him with surprise. Then, her gaze deepened, and she touched her neck meaningfully. What do you think I'm missing? Staring at her slender, fair neck, Liam's eyes lit up. Her neck was bare. It was missing a little decoration. Okay, I get it. But Cassandra, I don't think you're lacking in that department, are you? I'm not, but I still want one. What, is that not allowed? Cassandra pouted. When they first met, she had given him a necklace. They'd been together for so long, and he still hadn't given her one. But seeing that Liam seemed to understand, her brow furrowed, and she quickly added, But no bells. Don't you dare. Hearing this, Liam froze. Bells? He stared at Cassandra's nervous face, and suddenly remembered the pink, leather-strapped bell she had given him when they first met. Hiss! Liam reached out and flicked her on the forehead. What are you thinking about? I'm not into your weird fetishes. Cassandra yelped in pain, rubbing her forehead. Why are you being so mean? And it's not a weird fetish, it's a kind of... Liam's eyes narrowed. A kind of what? A kind request. She stumbled over her words, nearly biting her tongue. The nausea surged again. Before Liam could say anything, she turned and threw up into the toilet once more. Liam sighed. He heard the ding of the kettle and stood up to pour a cup of hot water, mixing it with cool water to make it warm. Have you taken the medicine Evelyn gave you? If not, you can take it with this warm water. Of course I took it. It's so annoying having to take this bitter medicine every day, Cassandra grumbled, taking the cup and gulping it down. The warm water soothed her stomach. Seeing some color return to her face, Liam sighed and said, After this pregnancy, let's not have any more. It hurts me to see you so sick. He was being honest. Cassandra knew he was serious, though she was touched and loved hearing it. Pregnancy wasn't something a person could always control, and living with a man as virile as Liam, being able to look but not touch. She was going crazy. Who knew if she'd get lucky again after this one? No way. I'm not done playing with you yet. Who knows if we might start another fire, she said, rolling her eyes. Liam's mouth twitched. We can play, but we can use protection. Wouldn't that solve the problem? Who uses protection when they're playing games with their own husband? After a few exchanges, Liam was at a loss for words. The addiction was strong. For both of them. It was what happened when two flames got together. Liam didn't even dare to imagine their first night after Cassandra recovered. How intense would that be? It was almost as if this pregnancy had saved his life. Liam scratched his head and wrapped his arm around Cassandra. All right, we'll talk about it then. Let me help you back to bed first. Cassandra nodded, leaning on him to stand up. She then hooked her arm through his and shivered. Hiss! It's so cold. Go turn on the heat. Okay. Let me get you to bed first. I'll be right there. Liam replied. He helped her into bed, tucked her in, and turned on the heat. A stream of cool air was followed by a slow, warm breeze. He turned off the light and was about to go clean the bathroom when Cassandra grabbed his arm. Where do you think you're going? I'm just going to clean the bathroom. The maid will do it tomorrow. Get in here now. I want to hold you while I sleep. All right, I'm coming.